Hello, this is your host, Adam Graham, from Pretty Much the Present. And in this video, we'll be bringing you a compilation of old-time radio detective podcasts from 2010. The podcasts are appearing, for the most part, unedited, except for some extraneous or repetitive elements that are being removed because this is a compilation. As I said, these are old, so any websites or offers mentioned may not be valid at the time you're listening unless you find them on our website currently. Now, with that said, here is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. If you have a comment, email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net. Cast your vote for the show on Podcast Alley, podcastalley.greatdetectives.net. And become one of our friends over on Facebook, facebook.greatdetectives.net. Before we get into today's show, I would like to let you know a little bit about Audible. Audible brings you a world of information and entertainment at a significantly discounted price. For example, the entire Chronicle of Narnia series, both as an audiobook form and as dramatized, are available from Audible. You get one audiobook credit per month, with which you can select from a world of books and dramatizations. Listeners to our program can try Audible for free. Download one of the Chronicles of Narnia audiobooks or dramatizations. You got a 14-day free trial. Go to audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio. Now let's get into today's episode of Box 13, Archimedes and the Roman.
Box 13, with the star of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd, as Dan Holliday.
Box 13, care of the Star Times. Dear Box 13, please come as quick as you can because I think there's something wrong. Nobody will listen to me because they think I don't know what I'm talking about. But I know there's something wrong and I think it's bad. My name is Marty Kennedy, and I live at 203 Webster Street in Collingwood. Come to the address and walk past whistling Yankee Doodle.
My name is Marty Kennedy, and I live at 203 Webster Street in Collingwood. Come to the address and walk past whistling Yankee Doodle so I will know you. Sure, it was only a letter from a kid. But that kid knew what he was talking about.
And now, back to Box 13 and Dan Holliday's newest adventure, Archimedes and the Roman.
But, Mr. Holliday, there are lots of other letters. Are you going to pay any attention to this one?
For Marty Kennedy? Yeah, I think so, Suzie.
But it'll be a wild goose chase. You'll go all the way to Collingwood and then find out there's nothing wrong.
Which might be a welcome change for me. Yes, I think I'll go, Suzie. After all, there might be something in this.
But, Mr. Holliday, look at the handwriting. It belongs to a kid.
So?
So, it'll be a wild goose chase.
Okay. Charge it off as a little vacation. Besides, sometimes kids have problems, Suzie. Big ones. So maybe I ought to give Marty Kennedy a hand. So long, Suzie. Collingwood was an easy 250-mile drive. It was a little town that sat at the foot of the mountain range. It was early afternoon when I got there and found 203 Webster Street. I left my car at the corner and walked past the address.
Box 13?
Mm-hmm. Marty Kennedy?
Yeah. Look, keep going down the street and I'll meet you around the corner. Don't let on like we know each other, huh?
Gotcha, Marty. See you around the corner. The tow-headed kid made it look like good old cloak and dagger stuff. He trailed me to the corner of the street, and once we were out of sight of his home...
This is okay. Nobody can see us now.
Okay, Marty. What's on your mind?
You got some got something that'll show me who you are?
I think I can arrange that. Here's your letter to me.
Okay. You, private eye?
No, I'm not a private detective.
You a policeman, then?
No, I'm afraid not. I'm a writer.
Oh.
Doesn't that sound romantic enough to you?
Romantic?
I mean, isn't it mysterious enough?
Yeah, I guess so. But we gotta go someplace where we can talk. We don't want to be overheard.
Oh, certainly not. Where do you suggest we go?
Well, I guess the rest of the kids ain't in the clubhouse. We can go there.
Clubhouse? What kind?
Just a shack we built. Can you climb a tree?
Do I have to?
Well, the shack's in a tree, but nobody'll hear us there.
Okay, Marty, lead the way and I'll go climb a tree.
Say, you did pretty good. It ain't easy to climb this tree.
Just don't ask me to hang by a tail, that's all. Now that we're sitting on top of the world, what do we talk about?
You don't think I'm serious, do you?
Oh, definitely. Incidentally, my name's Dan Holliday.
Okay, Mr. Holliday.
You make it Dan. As long as we're up a tree together, we've got to be friends.
Yeah. Well, I want to know what's happened to Ted.
Huh? Who's Ted?
Well, here, look out this here window. See where I'm pointing?
Yes, toward the mountains.
Mm-hmm. Well, see that shiny dome on the top of the biggest peak?
Yeah. What about it?
That's the Williams Observatory. They look at stars up there. They're astronomers.
Oh, yes. I've heard about it. Well, what of it?
Ted's the assistant up there. He helps Professor Irving.
All right, and then what?
Every week, Ted comes down for groceries and things. And when he does, he gives me a lesson.
Lesson? In what?
Astronomy. I like it.
Oh, that's a good deal. But your friend Ted didn't show up this week. Is that what worries you?
How'd you know?
Oh, I put two and two together.
Oh. Well, when he can't make it, he signals me.
And how does he do that?
Well, see that tower sticking up on the peak?
Mm-hmm, I see it.
He flashes me by mirror, but so far this week he didn't.
Well, maybe he's been busy.
That's what Mom and Pop said, but I didn't think you'd say it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marty. Okay, let's go at it from a different angle. Suppose he isn't busy. In that case, what would keep him from coming down, or at least flashing you the signal?
Well, I don't know. I wanted to go up, but Mom and Pop wouldn't let me, and then I saw your ad in the paper, so I wrote to you.
In other words, you want me to take a run up to the observatory and find out what's wrong. Is that it?
That's it.
You couldn't have asked someone else? I mean, a forest stranger? Someone who goes up there?
Gee, no.
No, that wouldn't have been mysterious enough, would it?
You making fun of me?
Oh, no, not at all, Marty. Now, what's your friend's full name? Ted what?
Ted Whitman.
And are he and Professor Irving the only men up there?
Uh-huh.
All right, Marty, I'll tell you what. I'll take a run up there and see what's what.
Be sure and let me know, will you?
Absolutely.
And, you won't say a word to anybody? This is just between us, huh?
Just the two of us.
Promise?
On my honor.
Swell. Because if Mom and Pop knew I'd bothered anybody, I'd get the dickens.
Oh, in that case, mum's the word. Okay, Marty, let's get out of this tree before a high wind comes up. I left Marty Kennedy and drove toward the hills. High on the tallest peak, the silver dome of the observatory turned to crimson in the sunset. I laughed at myself at what I was doing, but I kept going until I reached the summit. An iron gate blocked the way to the narrow connecting road that led to the observatory itself. I got out to open it when...
Sorry, mister. No visitors allowed.
Oh, hello there.
Hello. Don't open the gate. Leave it closed.
I'm sorry. I didn't know anyone was around.
Did you lose your way?
No, as a matter of fact, I intended to come here.
Oh, why?
I'm looking for someone.
Yeah, who?
Ted Whitman.
What do you want with him?
I wanted to see him.
All right, I'm Ted Whitman.
Oh, okay, then I guess we can talk here.
What about?
A friend of yours.
Who?
A kid named Marty Kennedy.
Oh, sure, Marty. How is he?
Oh, he's fine. But he's a little worried about you.
Oh, I'm okay. There's nothing wrong. Thanks, anyway.
He wondered why you didn't signal him when you didn't get down this week.
Signal? Oh, I didn't have time.
I see.
Well, is that all you came up to tell me?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. It's pretty dark on the road at night. If you don't know the turns, you can get into trouble. So if you leave now, you can make it back down in time.
Oh, thanks. Any message for Marty?
Tell him I'll see him next week.
All right.
Well, is there anything else, mister?
No, I guess that's all. Sorry to bother you.
Oh, that's okay. Careful turning your car around. It's pretty steep right there.
Yeah, I noticed. Well, so long.
So long.
Who was that?
Nobody.
I thought I heard steps.
You didn't. Now look, mister, it's getting dark. You better turn around.
Who's that? Who is it?
It's somebody to see me, Professor. You better get back to the cottage.
Please, we've got
Shut
to...
up.
What's the matter up here?
Nothing. I told you to turn your car around. Get back down the mountain.
No, please, don't go. Don't.
Hey, what's the idea of hitting that old man?
Okay, you asked for it, mister. Now come on in with your hands in the air.
What's the idea?
Come on in. Mister, you had your chance to get out of this. Now it's too late.
Do all astronomers carry guns?
He's not...
Shut up. All right, you, whoever you are, help the old guy up. The two of you walk in front of me. Come on.
You heard badly, Professor.
No. But he is.
He? Who?
Shut up. Hey, wait a minute. You, what's your name?
Holiday.
Okay. Get back to your car and lift the hood. Go on. Take out the distributor cap. Hurry it up. Throw it over here on the ground. Now, come back in. Pick up that big boulder on your way. That one.
This one?
Yeah, that one. Don't think of anything to do with it except what I tell you.
I know what I'd like to do with it.
Yeah, but you won't try because I'll get both of you. Now smash that distributor.
Why not just take my car keys?
Because lots of people carry extra sets. Smash that distributor.
That suit you?
Yeah. Now, like I said, both of you walk in front of me to the cottage. And one bad move, and I'll put a bullet right in the back of your head.
We walked to the cottage. Professor Irving hung on my arm. He tried to tell me something. But each time he started to, Whitman shut him up. Then we got to the cottage and stepped inside.
Billy! Billy!
Yeah, what do you want? Hey, who's that?
Company.
Who is he? What's he want up here? I thought you said nobody
Will you
come
quit
up...
yapping? Holiday, sit down. You too, Professor.
Take it easy, Professor. That's it.
Please, let me phone for a doctor, please.
Sure, when I'm ready.
Look, this ain't good. Why'd this guy come up here?
He's looking for Whitman.
Well, then if he's looking for him, somebody else is liable to do the same
Will
thing.
you take it easy? Holiday, why did you come looking for Whitman?
So you're not Ted Whitman?
That's right. Now answer my question.
I told you a friend of his was worried about him. Asked me to see if he was all right.
You see, Frank, I told you.
Will you stop blabbering?
We gotta get out of here, Frank. We just got...
Shut up. One more peep out of you, and I'll lock you up in that iron dome outside.
I'm scared.
Now talk, Holiday. How many other people besides you know about this?
Look, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean by this?
Anybody else looking for Whitman?
I wouldn't know.
You know, maybe you'll talk better after a little persuasion.
I wouldn't try anything, Frank.
Talk, I said!
Tell him, Mr. Holliday. Tell him or he'll kill you. He will. He's letting Ted die. Ted needs a doctor. He's shot.
Will you be quiet? Okay, Holiday. Talk.
I had to talk. I told Frank about the letter from Marty Kennedy. He knew I was telling the truth, and he seemed satisfied. But I still didn't know what the game was, or who Frank was, or what he was doing there. Then, later that evening...
Billy,
What?
turn on the radio. Just time for the news.
For you know what it's gonna say.
Turn it on.
I don't like it up here no more.
For the last time, will you please get a doctor for Ted? He'll die. I did the best I could, but he needs a doctor.
Too bad, isn't it?
Let me see. Maybe I can do something for him. You can't let a man die in cold blood.
Quiet.
News tonight. The daring single-handed jewelry store robbery holds the spotlight. The clerk who resisted the robber died this morning. The car in which the killer escaped was found abandoned about 5 miles north of Collingwood, and...
And now you know, don't you, Holiday?
Yeah. Now I know.
It's funny, huh?
Yeah, it is. How do you think you're going to get away from here?
In Billy's car. She met me after the job I pulled. My car's abandoned. I stay up here where no one will think of looking for me.
And after the roads are clear? After the police think you've left the state, what then?
What I said, I get away. Clean.
Mm-hmm. And what about us?
What do you think?
Want me to tell you?
Well, go ahead.
You'll have to kill us too, won't you? You've already got one murder on your slate. A couple of more won't make any difference. Not as long as you can save your own dirty hide.
You talk big and brave, but it doesn't worry me. Now I'll tell you something, Holiday.
Yeah, what else?
You hit the nail right on the head. I gotta kill you and the professor because I don't want anybody left to tip the cops when I leave here. And Holiday, just as soon as the radio tells us the roads are clear, that's when you get it.
And now back to Archimedes and the Roman, another Box 13 adventure with Alan Ladd as Dan Holliday.
Frank meant what he said. He'd kill us when he felt it was safe for him to leave. He watched Professor Irving and me every minute. Finally, I talked him into letting me take a look at Ted Whitman. Professor Irving was with me.
Is he going to die?
He's in bad shape. The wound needs cleaning and redressing. More than anything else, he needs a hospital and a doctor's care.
Is there anything we can do?
Listen, Marty Kennedy. You know him?
Yes.
He told me Ted signaled him from the observatory here. How was it done?
With a mirror, Morse code.
Look, Marty will be watching for a signal.
But you can't get up there to signal. That beast won't let you.
Yes, I know, so I won't even try to do it.
But it's the only way. No one ever comes up here.
No visitors?
No, this is just an observation station. Our work is routine, photographic spectroanalysis. Nothing to interest the casual visitor.
Doesn't anyone in town think of anything when you don't get in?
No. We often lose contact for several weeks at a time.
But how about supplies?
We got them last week. They'll think nothing of it if we don't show up for another 5 or 6 days.
Oh, that's great, just great.
But you said you weren't going to make an attempt to signal.
That's right. If Marty doesn't hear from me, maybe he'll talk. Maybe someone will be interested enough to come up here.
I see. That might work. Yes, that might work.
It might work, Professor. Well, I asked you a question.
Let him alone. He's an old man. Let him alone.
What are you two whispering about? Come on, spill it.
Nothing. We were talking about Ted.
You're a liar. What did he mean when he said it might work?
Nothing.
Okay, you want me to let him alone, don't you, Holiday?
What are you going to do?
Work on him a little bit. Oh!
Why, you filthy...
Now, Holiday, will you tell me, or do I get it out of the old man?
Let him alone. I'll tell you. Once again, I had to tell the truth. Frank would have recognized the lie. He was a trapped rat, and his instinct made him sharp. The next morning, he made me go to the sun tower and signal. And what I was to say, he'd written down. And he had a book of Morse code handy. I didn't have a chance to trick him.
Lidayhere.
I've been busy. Holiday here.
Good. Now we'll see if the kid answers.
Look, why don't you give the professor a break? Tie him up, do anything, but don't kill him.
I take no chances with anybody.
Well, take me with you, but give the old man a break.
You both get it. I take no chances. I'm looking the electric chair right in his face, and I don't like it. Hey, look, the kid's flashing back. Take it down when I give it to you. Dot, 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 dot. Dot. Dot, dash, dot, dot. Dot, dash, dot, dot. Dash, dash, dash. Dash. Dash, dot, dash, dash. That's a Y, and that's the last letter. Okay, let's see what we got. Hello, Ted and Mr. Holliday. This is Marty. Glad to know you are all right. I'll be here again tomorrow waiting to talk to you, Marty. Hey, this is perfect.
Frank, what good is it? We're sitting up here while the cops are looking for us.
I'm using brains, Billy. As long as the kid thinks everything is all right up here, he won't worry. He'll talk. He'll say he heard from Whitman, see?
Very clever, Frank. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now, more than ever, no one's going to look up here. You're going to signal every day until I get ready to leave. See, Holiday, all it takes is brains.
Yes, that's all. You know, Frank, you remind me of someone.
Yeah, who?
A Roman soldier.
He's nuts, Frank.
No. I want to hear what he's going to say. Go on, Holiday.
Maybe you don't know the story, but I'm sure Professor Irving does. About Archimedes and the Roman.
Yes, I know it.
Okay, Holiday. Tell us the story.
All right. Archimedes was a Greek, a great scientist and a mathematician. He lived in Syracuse, on the island of Sicily. In the year 212 B.C., the Romans besieged the city and sacked it.
What kind of a story is this?
Very much like the one we're going through now.
Go ahead, finish it, Holiday.
Okay. Well, the invading Romans looted the city, and one of them, looking for spoils, entered a garden. There he saw an old man sitting alone, drawing circles in the sand with a stick. The Roman spoke to the old man, Archimedes. But the old man thought of nothing but his circles and his science. The Roman ran him through with his sword.
So, what of it?
Well, no one remembers the soldier's name, but Archimedes has never been forgotten.
What are you trying to do? Give me the willies?
No, he's trying to scare me, but he doesn't.
You're still going through it, huh? You're going to kill a man who lives for nothing but science.
I take no chances.
He hasn't harmed you or anyone else.
I won't beg him for my life, Mr. Holliday.
It wouldn't do you any good. Now get in your room, both of you. Maybe tomorrow will be the day we put a tag on the story.
But it wasn't. Radio reports by shortwave said the police were still looking in that area. I was forced to signal Marty that everything was all right. Then, 2 days later...
This is the day, Holiday. It's too bad the old guy's name isn't Archimedes.
You still don't want to give him a break, huh?
Stop yapping about it.
Ted's worse. We've got to do something.
You won't have to worry about it anymore, Archimedes.
Oh, I see.
I'm sorry, Professor Irving. Maybe if I hadn't have come up here, you wouldn't
It
have...
would have been the same, Holiday. Billy? Billy?
Yeah? What's the matter?
Get the things packed. We're pulling out tonight.
Honest?
Yeah, honest.
But, is it all right? I mean, the cops, they're off the trail?
Yeah, I picked their calls up on the shortwave. Everything is just ducky, baby.
Brother, I'll be glad to get out of this place. Maybe it's doing these guys a favor. What'd they have up here, anyway?
A whole life. A whole life deep in the immensity of space. Dan, I'm sorry you have to be in on this. Me, I'm an old man, so...
It's all right, Professor.
Here we are. 4 little people in the limitless well of the universe. 4 tiny lives.
It does seem odd, doesn't it? All the billions upon billions of miles out there, and we're just a speck.
For crying out loud, that talk gives me the creeps. Frank, make him shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
Oh, scared a little, Frank? Tonight, when you leave here, look up into the sky. Just remember how tiny you really are. Swallowed up in the immense stretches that are so huge that 1 billion miles is only a speck. The Roman soldier, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
What about Ted Whitman?
He'll die anyway. You shouldn't have gotten in my way when I first came up here.
Just push anybody out of the way, kill him if you have to.
I take no chances. I use my head.
Oh, stop arguing with him, Frank. I'm getting nervous. We ought to get out of here right now.
We'll get out tonight when it's dark. Okay, Holiday, let's go to the tower and signal that kid.
Why should I? You're going to kill us anyway. Why should I give you a break? If I don't signal, Marty will get suspicious.
You'll signal.
Can you make...
Yeah, I can.
Go ahead, beat me, then I'll be in great shape to signal.
Look, either you do it or old Archimedes here takes it for you.
Do it, Dan.
But if we're going to die, why give this rat a break?
For Marty's sake.
For Marty's sake?
Yes, I don't want the boy to miss what's going to happen tonight.
What are you talking about?
Be careful, Frank. Don't let him trick you.
I'll use my brains. Now, what are you talking about? You, Archimedes.
What do you mean, Professor?
Ted taught Marty astronomy. The boy has a wonderful natural inclination for it. There are too few of us like Marty. I want him to see the comet tonight. He won't look for it if I don't tell him, if you don't signal him about it.
Well, how do you like that?
Something you wouldn't understand, Frank.
Okay, so I don't understand it. Who wants to?
All right. Write down what you want me to signal him, Professor. I'll do it.
Thank you. It'll be short.
How do you like that? He's going to get killed, and he wants to tell a kid about a comet.
You know, I'd die much happier if I had just one good crack at you.
Yeah, sure you would. I'll stick my chin out and let you take a punch at it.
Here's the message.
Thanks.
Let me see that. Come on, hand it over.
Sure. Read it.
Yeah.
Anything wrong with it?
Just tells the kid to look for a comet.
Don't send it, Frank. There's something wrong.
I run this show. You think these two can pull a fast one on me? There's no code in this. I looked.
No, there's no code.
Frank, Sometimes the first letter of each word spells another word.
I know. I looked. Can you make anything out of L, F, H, C, T?
No, I guess not.
Okay. Come on, Holiday, let's go.
I signaled Marty. He answered. I prayed that the kid would understand. Then we went back to the cottage. The afternoon passed, and it was early evening, and in the cottage.
It's about time we went, ain't it, Frank?
No, not quite. The sun's not all the way down yet.
But the longer we stay, the worse it's going to be.
Will you stop yapping? We've been here all day. Nothing's happened.
That's right. Nothing's happened. I wonder if Marty's looking for the comet.
I guess he is.
I bet there ain't no comet.
But you're wrong. There are over 900 comets recorded, and 5 or 10 more are discovered every year.
Save it, Archimedes. You're not teaching a class now. And you, Billy, take it easy. It's been over 7 hours since we flashed the message.
All the same, we better go.
Yeah, the sun's down now. It'll be dark enough. Okay, Holiday, Archimedes, on your feet.
For the last time, take me along with you. Tie the professor up, but don't kill him.
I take no chances. On your feet, both of you. Don't you try that again, or you'll go out the hard way, little by little. Now move. Get in the next room and face the wall.
Right in the back, huh?
Sure, unless you want to see what you're getting. Okay. Hey, what's that?
Sounded like a car.
Douse the light fast.
Something unforeseen, Frank?
Frank, who is it?
Don't worry. Can't be anybody that knows anything, even if it
Frank,
is.
I can see by moonlight. They're rangers. They've got guns.
And they can use them.
There's a kid with them.
Marty Kennedy.
That kid. Okay, he asked for it. I take no chances.
Don't shoot that kid.
Shut up.
Frank, look out!
All right, drop it. Drop the gun.
Well, Frank, this time Archimedes wins.
You dirty...
I've been waiting to do that for 2 days.
Gee, Mr. Halliday, Professor, where's Ted?
He'll be all right, Marty. As soon as we can get him to a doctor. But you're a smart boy.
I thought you'd guess it, Marty.
Well, gee, I knew something was wrong, but it took me a long time to make anybody else believe it. Shucks, I knew Ted or anybody else up here wouldn't send me such a silly message.
And is Ted Whitman going to be all right, Mr. Holliday?
Sure, he'll be all right.
But what was the message that made Marty think something was wrong?
To watch for a comet that night?
Well, if there are over 900 comets and 5 or 10 new ones discovered every year, what was silly about it?
This was a particular comet, Suzie. A very particular one.
Well, gee, tell me, what was it?
Remember the first letters of each word? L, F, H, C, T?
Yeah?
Look for Halley's Comet tonight.
Well?
Halley's Comet has a big orbit. It takes 75 years for it to get around. And it isn't due until 1985. Good night, Suzie.
Listen in again next week when, through the courtesy of Paramount Pictures, Alan Ladd stars as Dan Holliday in Box 13. Box 13 is directed by Richard Sandville, with this week's original story by Russell Hughes. Original music is composed and conducted by Rudy Schrager, and the part of Suzie is played by Sylvia Picker. Vern Karstensen is in charge of production. This is a Mayfair production from Hollywood. Watch for Alan Ladd in his latest Paramount picture.
Welcome back. Well, for those of you who are fans of old-time radio crime shows, you'll recognize the voice of Frank Lovejoy, who played the bad guy in this particular episode. He's better known as the early narrator of This Is Your FBI, as well as the voice of Randy Stone on Nightbeat. So quite a contrast here. I did not get to see Halley's Comet when it came by in 1985. I was 5 at the time, but I do remember a TV episode about it. It's kind of weird hearing radio shows talking about the past as the future. But 1985 was quite a long ways away at the time this was being recorded, back in 1948. All right, well, we have some comments on from Dallas on Podcast Alley. Enjoy your comments before and after the show. My favorite show is Box 13, or maybe let George do it, or maybe Johnny Dollar. Oh, wait, maybe Pat Novak. Oh, heck, I enjoy all of them. Thank you for putting them on. Well, thanks so much, Dallas, and I'm with you. It's hard to pick out a favorite show of the ones we do, because I obviously, since I host them, I like them, but I like them in different ways. So it's hard, say, to compare Sherlock, Holmes, and Box 13 for me. And then we have a nice, keep up the good work, Adam. Love the show and listen to your podcast all the time on my commute to work. It makes that a much more pleasant experience. Well, thank you for your kind comments. Before we get started, I do want to let you know briefly about Netflix. In a tight economy, a lot of businesses are contracting and shrinking. Yet Netflix continues to grow its business and add new subscribers. Why? Because it offers a wide variety of entertainment choices at an affordable price. For my part, with all the great shows I've been able to, and movies I've been able to watch through Netflix, I wouldn't have been able to afford to buy them new. Plans start for as little as $9, and Netflix is now offering a 1-month free trial. Go to netflix.greatdetectives.net or click the Netflix link over at greatdetectives.net. Now it's time for today's episode of Jeff Regan. She's lovely, she's engaged, she eats soybeans.
My name's Regan. I work for Anthony J. Lyon, Detective Bureau. They call me the Lion's Eye. Sunday at 8:30, and CBS brings you Jeff Regan, Investigator, starring Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. So stand by for mystery and suspense and adventure in tonight's transcribed story. She's lovely, she's engaged, she eats soybeans. This one revolved around a beauty, the kind that drives some men mad, some to murder. Her name, last week, was Miss Fireworks on the 4th, but she didn't have to worry about catching on fire. Everything was insured. But there was somebody that didn't like her in a bathing suit, and a big guy that shot skeet and never missed. But once. I got a call from my boss, the Lion, last Wednesday morning before breakfast. Said he had to see me right away. When I got down to the Detective Bureau, the Lion was chewing slowly and holding a
picture, Jeffrey. A photograph, to be exact.
Chewing your cud, Lion?
Wheat kernels, Jeffrey. Sunny fruit of Mother Earth. I saved some for your breakfast.
Where's the marmalade?
Don't scoff, my boy. These golden grains of patented wheat.
Who's got a patent on wheat?
Steve Albright. And this isn't just any wheat. It's grown only in a sun-splashed acre of alluvial soil, watered by a gushing spring of, have a kernel, Jeffrey.
Thanks.
It's the new miracle health food, my boy. If you're heavy, it slims you. If you're lean, it builds you up. And you need only 10 kernels a day. Here, have another.
The picture, Fatso.
Yes, the picture. Well, look what the wheat has done for this girl, Jeffrey.
Wrong side up.
Yeah? Oh, yes.
Ah, bathing beauty.
Yeah, professional, my boy. He travels around the country doing
this.
Yes. But there's trouble afoot, Jeffrey. This lovely girl is in some sort of danger.
What kind?
That's your job, my boy. You must find out. I'll retain her of $150, says you do.
Who's Steve Albright?
Her manager. He left me these pictures of the girl, and when I asked how she managed to keep her figure...
He produced a sack of wheat and said, chew slowly.
Something like that.
What's the girl's name?
Name? I guess I forgot to ask.
You're right. Doesn't make any matter. Where do I find the Steve Albright?
Yeah, I have the address right here.
Oh, you're improving.
Here it is. Now give me back my picture and get right out there. Mr. Albright said this girl is a very valuable property.
Some photographs lie, but these told the truth. About soft hair flowing down to the waist. A fluted figure,
tight in a two-piece bathing suit. If you look real close for it. Now, who'd want to get a girl like this into trouble? But somebody did. It was afternoon before I could contact Albright. His office was in a small white stucco building back of the Sunset Strip. No elevators. The directory said Steve Albright, Massive Enterprises Incorporated, Suite 3. I found it. The door said enter. I entered.
Regan, excellent.
The office was one room, a desk, and...
Steve Albright is my name. Perfect. Glad you got here so soon. Excellent.
Glad to know you. Wonderful.
You're thinking this is a small office, that Massive Enterprises is broke. I ask you to examine the books, Mr. Regan.
You've paid us.
They're somewhere in this drawer. Oh, here they are. Excellent.
Where's the girl?
We'll come to her, fine.
Grand.
The books. You see? I go back to 1948. That's when I found her.
What do you call her?
Actual name, Jerry Shoulder. Marvelous. But no one knows her by that name. As you can see in the books, Mr. Regan, it's always something like Miss Gold Coast.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Chicago, $1,436.56.
2 days' work. Pictures, endorsements, radio shots.
Mm-hmm. Good money for 2 days' work.
Jerry was Miss Coal Tar Derivatives for the Duplan Manufacturing Empire.
$2,769.84.
In 3 days. Marvelous. Of course, the flower festivals and all have a bathing beauty contest, but they find it's much simpler and more advantageous to have a professional win. She knows how to pose, she knows what to say and do, and, of course, she's more beautiful.
Makes sense. You say she's in trouble?
We did very well in Kansas City as Miss Ground Round for the butchers.
I want to know about now.
Well, since we've been here, Mr. Regan, there have been innuendos, threats against her life.
Why?
I don't know. Well, here, you can see from a picture.
You left pictures of her with Lyon, I'm convinced.
I mean, Mr. Regan, it's seldom that a girl comes along who has all... delightful. I mean, it's insured.
Insurance is a wonderful business.
Yeah, $100,000 overall. And Lloyd's of London will pay $10,000 if she injures those legs of hers.
Mm-hmm. You want me to act as her bodyguard, eh?
Precisely, Grand.
Delightful.
That is, if you feel you can resist her. You see, Mr. Regan, her value as a professional bathing beauty is ruined if she gets mixed up with men. Marries.
Uh-huh. You, got a policy on that, too?
$50,000.
I promise I won't marry the girl.
Your big job is to keep men away from her.
What man? His name?
Banyan. He's tall, good-looking.
Yeah, I know him. Cheap rackets here.
Oh, excellent. Then we can do business.
Just curiosity, Albright, but what about the golden grains of patented wheat?
Oh, that's just a sideline of our enterprise, Mr. Regan. Women wonder how Jerry Shoulder managed to keep what you see in this photograph, so we started a little health food business on the side.
Now, another thing, if something happens to Jerry Shoulder, who gets the insurance money?
Massive Enterprises.
Which is?
Me.
I checked the insurance policies. They seemed genuine. I asked where I could find Jerry Shoulder and was told the beauty parlor. Where else? And that's where I headed, only instead of a parlor, it was a beauty salon. The doors were plate glass, the doorman an electric eye. The plate glass swung out. I swung in. I sank into the deep rug like it was something alive. The place was wired for music. There were flowers and a statue of Aphrodite, life-size, standing in the fountain. The official greeter was Trey Chick in ascot tie and cutaway pants.
What's it to you, Mac?
He said, noticing my glance.
You maybe want your hair done?
If you don't mind my asking, why are you working here?
The slick dames gotta get their kicks. I remind them of Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, now, Humph, could you tell me...
My name is Mungo.
Who was that?
Just a dame getting beautiful. You was Aston?
Looking for a girl named Jerry Shoulder.
All right, wise gang. In here. Mr. Banyan will want to talk to you.
The big guy rammed his shoulder into my stomach, then grabbed my arm and twisted it behind my back. He opened a door and shoved me into a room. He locked the door from the outside. There was another door, and it was locked, too. I looked around the room. It was like a medieval torture chamber. Weird racks and iron maidens connected to steam pipes. Metal rollers and headless horses. All to change nature's idea of what a woman should look like. I tried the door again. This time it opened. Only someone was coming in. She was young, She was lovely. She wore a bathing suit. Tall, deeply tanned brunette, moving easily toward me on calendar legs.
You want to see me?
There's more?
I'm Jerry Shoulder.
I thought maybe.
I don't get to meet men. I'm sorry you caught me looking like this.
Well, it's all right.
You see, I just had my hair done and had to wrap it in a towel.
Oh, yeah.
Mungo tried to keep me out of here, but I persuaded him to let me come in. You wanted me for something?
I'm your new bodyguard, lady.
Steve's starting that again.
Doesn't want you to get into trouble.
Oh, you wouldn't let anything happen to me, would you, Mr.
Regan?
Mr. Regan, the Lion's Eye. Oh, I've heard of you. I've heard you're very good.
On some things.
Well, you mustn't pay too much attention to my manager.
Your
Mr.
manager
Regan.
says you've been threatened.
Oh, there must be some mistake. I've never been threatened in my life. Oh, pardon me while I climb up on my horse.
Huh? Oh.
There.
Yeah.
No, don't leave, Mr. Regan. Stay right here. Time for my exercise.
Do you have any idea who might want to do you bodily harm?
I just love exercise, Mr. Regan.
Yeah, sure. Could it be a man named Banyan?
Mr. Regan, you've got to help me get out of this place.
You man, come here.
There was a woman standing in the doorway. There was a gun in her hand.
I know how to use this. Get away from her.
She motioned me toward the door. I obliged. Then we were in the hall, and I noticed the woman was holding the gun awkwardly. The safety was on.
You men are all alike.
Yeah, they tell me. Now, give me the gun.
You stay away from Jerry.
The gun.
I'll just put it back in my purse, but you stay away from Jerry now.
The woman dropped the gun into her purse. She wore a plain, hugging jersey dress. Gray hair in a bun at the back of her head. The kind of a woman you see in bars. Late. Alone.
We've got to keep men away from Jerry. I'm sorry if I frightened you.
Don't tell me you're a private eye.
No. I'm Martha, Jerry's wardrobe mistress. I keep her bathing suits in cool, dry places. They're latex, you know.
Do you know a man named Albright?
Well, sure, that's Jerry's manager. He's the one that told me to protect Jerry, keep the men away.
Well, then why didn't you do it? The way she came walking in, anybody could have got to her.
I was busy for a moment in the back, looking for a cool, dry place.
Did Jerry know a small-time racketeer named Banyan?
Well, if she does, I don't know about it. And I'm with her constantly.
Yeah, like today.
Oh, I'll bet you're Jeff Regan.
Yeah, so Albright told you I was on the case,
He
huh?
tells me everything, Mr. Regan.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe he can tell you why Jerry didn't follow us out into the hall.
It does seem strange.
We better take a look in that room. Jerry's shoulder was gone. Out the other door. But we still had a catch. Standing in the middle of the 17th century chamber of mechanical horrors was a 20th century mess. The ape in ascot tie and pearl buttons, only now his clothes were torn, his face scratched and bleeding. All right, where's the girl?
I was only trying to help.
Wake up, will you? Where is she?
Mr. Banyan, he
Banyan
said...
again.
Keep her safe from guys.
Snap
said.
out of it, will you?
I couldn't hit his girl. I tried to hold her. She hit me and scratched me.
Is she still in the building?
She even screamed at me, but I couldn't hit his girl.
Banyan, sure. And I know where to find him. Banyan operated out of the 7 Club. But when I checked, he wasn't there. I finally caught up with him outside of town, in a spot hidden from the highway. A country club. A gambling joint that featured bare-knuckle bouts, cockfighting, and now, Banyan, with a shotgun in his hands, shooting skeet. Pull!
Dead duck. Nice shooting, Banyan.
Talking to yourself, Banyan?
Huh? Oh, Regan.
Shooting clay pigeons a little out of your line, isn't it, Banyan?
Clay pigeons? You never know which way they'll fly. Sharpens the eye.
Pull!
Yeah. Makes it easy when you're trying for a larger target.
Nice spot you got here.
Doesn't belong to me if that's what you're after.
No. The way I read it, brand new beauty parlor belongs to you. Likewise, a guy named Mungo. That's your new front.
Regan, it's a salon.
Oh, yeah, I thought. What I'm after, Banyan, is a girl named Jerry Shoulder.
Never heard of her.
Beautiful, isn't she?
Very.
Look, I'm playing for keeps.
Oh? You won't mind if I just slip a few more shells into my shotgun.
Just remember, I don't scare.
Oh, I'd almost forgotten.
Open up, Banyan. Jerry's shoulder.
You know what my enemies are saying, Regan? That Jerry's shoulder's as good as dead. Pull!
You missed. This time. I checked the club grounds. No Jerry's shoulder. She wasn't with Banyan. I headed back to L.A. fast. It was late when I reached L.A. I had to get the Lyon. I phoned him at his apartment. Nobody home. I called again 15 minutes later. Still no answer. I was getting worried. I went to his apartment. He wasn't there. I checked with the janitor. He told me the Lyon was on the roof. That's where I found him. In bed. Lyon. Hey, Lyon.
Lyon, Detective. Oh, it's you, Jeffrey.
Why the boy scouting on the roof?
I'm sleeping in nature's own clean, sweet air. My boy. I moved my cot up here just this evening.
Look, Lyon.
You're sleeping under the stars, just as Mother Nature intended.
Lyon,
If Mr. Albright says my shoulder sleeps out even when it's raw, it's part of their health plan. Look at me, Jeffrey. I'm thinner already. You know, I've only had 8 kernels of the patented wheat today instead of 10. I did without dessert.
Listen, Fatso, I'm heading for Jerry Shoulder's hotel. I want you to check on Banyan.
You that low criminal?
Find out where he's been the last few days, how he's been spending his time, everything. Keep an eye on it.
All right, Jeffrey, if you insist.
I insist.
Do you think you'll find my shoulder at a hotel?
Maybe. If she's alive. I dropped the Lyon off at police headquarters to get a rundown on Banyan. Then I drove to Jerry Shoulder's apartment hotel. The street was quiet and deserted. Most of the windows were black, just a few lights here and there. Patio balconies. Very swank. Inside, there was a self-help elevator. I went up. The elevator opened onto a long corridor. A small night light down at the end. The room was 306. I was almost at the door when the door banged open, and coming at me fast was that mug from the beauty parlor, Mungo.
Out of my way!
No, brother, not this time. It's my... My fist found his stomach as soft as pie. He doubled and fell. I jumped over him and ran into the apartment. The lights were on. The living room was empty. I tried the bedroom. The light was on in there, too, glaring white on what I didn't want to see. There was a body lying across the bed. Not Jerry's shoulder. A man's body. A bullet through his chest. The dead man was Steve Albright. The ripped sheet that covered him was stained purple.
This is CBS, and you are listening to tonight's adventure with Jeff Regan, investigator, entitled She's Lovely, She's Engaged, She Eats Soybeans.
Steve Albright was dead in Jerry Shoulder's apartment. A bullet hole in his chest. And what looked like purple acid burns through the bedclothes. I'd caught Mungo, the well-dressed ape from the beauty parlor, coming out of the apartment door. And I knew that Mungo worked for Banyan, the racketeer. Albright had hired me as Jerry Shoulder's bodyguard. He'd have done better to have hired me as his. I called Candid at Homicide. Now, the police photographers were gone. We were waiting for the coroner. Candid sitting on the bed next to Albright's body. Candid was eating Fig Newtons.
Well, I'm glad you held on to Mungo, Regan.
You think he did it, Candid?
Open and shut case.
You know, Jerry's shoulder was insured, but plenty.
Yeah, you said.
I called the night number of the insurance company right after I called you, Candid. They said all their policies were in effect but one. You know which one?
I'm not interested, Regan. I've got the killer.
It was the one that would have paid off to Albright.
The deceased.
If Jerry had married. That policy lapsed a month ago.
Well, my insurance is always lapsing.
Yeah, well, this one lapsed because Albright married Jerry Shoulder himself.
What?
The company wouldn't pay on that. And Albright couldn't let it out because there's no such thing as a married bathing beauty.
So Mungo was nuts about the dame. She gives him the come on. He finds out about her being married, comes up here and...
And?
Have a Fig Newton, Regan. They're real fresh.
And?
Well, he was going to kill the girl, like they all do, Regan. You know that. But Mungo gets real mad when he finds her husband in her bed, and he knocks him off.
Mungo denies it.
They all do, Regan.
You know, Candid, the way the bullet entered, looks like it was a hurry-up job.
So Mungo was nervous.
You know Mungo worked for Banyan.
We've got the killer.
Mind if I, turn out these lights?
Hey, now, wait a... Regan, I can't see.
Yeah, it's kind of dark in here.
Regan, where are you? I feel something moving. There's a dead guy in here, Regan.
Give your eyes a chance to get used to the dark.
Oh, gee, turn the light on.
Huh? Barely make out the figure on the bed.
In the name of the law, Regan.
Okay, Candid. I've got all I need here. I left Candid and the dead man and headed for my car. But I saw something across the street that stopped me. A long black convertible with the top up. Over the wheel, I could see a face. Banyan. I ran across the street, grabbed the door handle just as the car started to move, opened it, and pulled the handbrake.
Take it easy, Regan. You're liable to get hurt.
Are you waiting for someone, Banyan?
What I do is my business.
Been up to Jerry's apartment tonight, Banyan?
Cops having a ball over there, Regan?
Yeah, a real party. They're serving refreshments. Fig Newtons.
I stopped laughing in 29.
Maybe you've been in the building. Just got out. You were leaving without saying goodbye.
Where's Jerry's shoulder, Regan?
Let's look in your car trunk.
If anything happened to that girl, I'm holding you responsible.
Put that gun away.
She's the only clean, decent thing I've ever had in my life. Something a peeper like you wouldn't understand.
Try me.
Jerry's shoulder and I are engaged to be married.
You'll have to stand in line.
Yeah? Quitting the racket. Sure, at first I was just playing around with Jerry, but then I found she was...
different.
A decent dame.
You've known Jerry's shoulder how long, Banyan? 3 weeks?
Ever since she's been in town. Yeah, maybe 3 weeks.
How'd you meet her?
I answered a Lonely Hearts ad.
Look, Banyan, I know you started that beauty shop front so you could meet Jerry there, or have her brought there so you could be nearer.
Oh, let's stop fishing.
Sorry, time's running out, Banyan. I gotta give it to you straight. Jerry's shoulder was married to Steve Albright.
What? Why, you lying.
Somebody's been killed in Jerry's shoulder's bed, and it looks like it might be a hubby. Maybe you better go take a look. Banyan ran upstairs, but I didn't have time to wait for his reaction. I had an appointment at Massive Enterprises. It was 4 a.m. now. A clear sky pouring cold moonlight down on the deserted stucco that housed Massive Enterprises Incorporated. The outside door was open. Steve Albright's office was locked. It opened on the third key. I tried. I snapped the overhead light on. Everything just as I remembered it. I opened the desk and found what I wanted. When Steve Albright had said that Massive Enterprises consisted of himself, he was almost right. The health food sideline was in the name of Martha Highgate. I used the phone to raise the line. Tried every place I thought he might be. Then tried the office of the Detective Bureau.
Yeah, Anthony J. Lyon, Detective Bureau. Anthony J.
Me,
Lyon.
Fatso.
Oh, Jeffrey, my boy. I've been trying to locate
What'd you get on Banyan?
That's what I wanted to tell you. I picked up his trail at the 7 Club.
He was with Jerry's shoulder.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I just talked to Banyan.
I'm not surprised, Jeffrey. I took his girl away from him.
Jerry's shoulder?
Yes, when they came out of the club, Banyan went to get his car. I spoke to Miss Shoulder and told her she was in great danger. Showed my credentials, and she came with me.
With you?
Yes. Oh, she's a very nice girl, my boy. She said she's had to go around with Banyan. He practically forced her to accompany him.
Where's Jerry's shoulder now?
Well, she was here at the office up until an hour ago. We had a midnight bite of wheat and quite a nice chat.
She's gone?
Well, I was out getting a drink of water, and when I came back, she was gone.
Anything else on Banyan?
Oh, yes. There is no Banyan.
Come again?
Banyan is just one of the aliases taken by a hoodlum whose real name is Highgate.
Highgate? And he has an older sister named Martha.
Yes, but how...
That's all I needed. Thanks, Lyon. It began to make sense. When Banyan saw Jerry's shoulder had run out on him, he phoned downtown to Mungo, had Mungo check her apartment. That's where I found him. I looked through Albright's desk and found Martha Highgate's address. It was the Ronda Hotel. When I got there, the room clerk was smiling.
Room 405, Regan, but you won't find Martha Highgate up there.
Who will I find?
Smooth dame. Must be a friend. Had a bottle and some ice cubes sent up just a little while ago. Celebrating.
Celebrating?
Wearing a bathing suit.
I went upstairs and knocked on the door. I waited. Then I felt the knob turn in my hand. The door opened. And there, in a tight-fitting bathing suit, stood...
Oh, come in, Mr. Regan.
Hey, wait a minute. You're not Jerry Shoulder.
Come in, Mr. Regan.
The room was dim, in pink light. There was a rosy globe hanging down from the ceiling. A phonograph was playing. And the woman was the bathing beauty's wardrobe mistress, Martha Highgate.
Drink, Mr. Regan.
No thanks, lady.
Oh, don't you like me? Just a little.
I'll like you more after we talk.
Do you like me in this light? See, I've kept my figure young, Mr. Regan.
You can't cheat Father Time with a pink light, lady.
My hair looks almost black, if you don't stand too close. It's long, Mr. Regan.
You even had the bellboy fooled with that bathing suit and your hair down, Mother.
I'm Jerry's shoulder now.
It'll take more than wishing to give you what she has, lady.
Maybe a little drink will improve your eyesight.
No one's eyesight's too good in a darkened bedroom, Martha.
Bedroom.
You loved Steve Albright, didn't you, Martha?
Love Steve? Oh, sure, and he loves me.
Yeah, he did all right by you, too. Made you part of massive enterprises, gave you a cut of the profits. But that wasn't enough. You wanted him.
I've got him.
Oh, no, lady. Somebody's got him now, but not you.
Not Jerry Shoulder.
Steve Albright is dead.
Dead?
One thing, lady, you didn't know that Steve and Jerry were married.
Stephen? Jerry?
Yeah, you should have turned that bedroom light on before you threw that acid.
What do you mean?
Jerry was on a date tonight with your brother.
No.
You killed Steve Albright, her husband.
Steve?
You made certain with a gun. But you couldn't stand the thought of Jerry's shoulder looking beautiful even in death. So you used acid, too.
I can use this gun again, Mr. Regan.
Oh, no, you won't use it again, Martha. You're a one-time gal. You won't kill again.
Don't try me.
Give me that gun, Martha.
Stand back.
Give it to me.
All right.
The muzzle blast was hot on my face. But Martha was still a poor hand with a gun. The bullet went wild, and I had her by the arms, tight.
Get your hands off her, Regan.
Banyan.
Oh, honey, I knew you'd come. I knew you wouldn't let me take him.
All right, give me the gun, Regan. One inside your coat, too. That's right.
You won't get away with this, Banyan.
What's Regan doing here, sis?
Shoot him. Kill him, honey.
What's Regan doing in your room?
Well, he was going to take me in for killing Steve Albright. But now you won't let him. You won't let him, will you, honey?
Why the bathing suit?
She went up there to kill Jerry's shoulder, Banyan.
Why the bathing suit?
I'm as beautiful as she is.
Jealousy, Banyan. Your sister wanted Steve, but he fell for Jerry.
How about it, sis?
I wish now they'd been together tonight. I didn't know they were married. I'd have killed both of them. That's why I threw Jerry at you, honey. You wanted her, and I wanted to get rid of her. Oh, gee, I'm glad you showed up, honey. Now, come on, kill Regan. Come on, shoot Regan.
No. That's not the way it's going to be. All right, Regan, here's your gun.
What?
Thanks, Banyan.
What are you doing? You're my brother. You can't do that. You can't turn me in.
You don't need to worry about Martha, Regan.
No, you can't.
So Jerry was married. Well, all that's over for me. But you tried to kill her, Martha. So I'm turning you in myself.
No, you can't. That'll hurt me. You're my brother. Yes,
The woman in the
my
bathing
brother.
suit, flattered with a rosy light, allowed her brother to take her by the arm and lead her from the room. Banyan delivered his sister to Candid down at Homicide. But to make sure, I followed Banyan's car all the way. Too bad about Banyan. Jerry was the only good thing that ever happened to him in his life. But it happened too late. Anyway, Candid finally found the scared Jerry Shoulder, released Banyan's sidekick, Mungo, and that put a period. It was 10 in the morning when I checked in at the office. The Lion was singing.
There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy.
Oh, Nature Boy.
Oh, Jeffrey.
Still packing away the wheat, Fatso?
Oh, yes. Notice how much weight I've lost already, my boy. You know, this morning I saw my cheekbones for the first time in years.
Oh, eyes sunken, color gray.
Jeffrey, I've never felt so healthy. I've been eating nothing but golden grains of patented wheat.
Patented?
Patented. You know, Miss Shoulder eats nothing but health foods, Jeffrey. Last night she recommended a health food restaurant where we might have lunch. The Grated Garbanzo Grotto.
Fine.
It serves nothing but the finest dried soybeans.
Good.
Yes. Raw cabbage.
Delicious.
Delicious. Choice beech bark.
Yummy.
Yummy.
Yeah, I knew you weren't touching any other kind of food.
Oh, health foods, Jeffrey. Nature's boon to mankind.
That's why I turned down the invitation for you.
Moated mango. Invitation? What invitation?
Of course, I'm going.
You're going where?
Candid's barbecue out at his place. You were invited, but I knew you wouldn't be interested.
Barbecue?
No, you wouldn't want hot buttered corn.
Corn?
Rich Caesar salad.
Salad.
Mounds of golden brown French fried potatoes.
Oh.
Steaks 4 inches thick. So long, Lyon.
Jeffrey, wait for me!
Jeff Regan, Investigator, is written by William Frug and Gilbert Thomas, produced and directed by Sterling Tracy, and stars Frank Graham as Regan, with Frank Nelson as Anthony J. Lyon. Original music is by Dick Arant. Jeff Regan, Investigator, is heard each week at the same time over CBS. Bob Stevenson speaking, reminding you that Jeff Regan will be back next week, transcribed. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, I guess for that last scene, you could write a memo from anybody who has been on a diet to Jeff Regan. 3 words, we ate you. Worst possible thing to encounter on a diet, but well executed. Nice little, I thought, comedic end to the episode. And another compelling, noirish episode of Jeff Regan. By the way, there was an episode between last week's show and this week's, but the title of that show is unknown. Now we turn to some listener comments. Got this one off Podcast Alley. How about adding the original episodes of Bulldog Drummonds, the one that are based out of England? Well, thank you so much for the suggestion. I am not aware of the existence of said episodes. The episodes of Bulldog Drummond I've been able to find have been from the syndicated series with Bulldog Drummond in the United States. As I talked about at the time, I wasn't particularly impressed with those episodes. If it was made outside the United States and never syndicated here, we don't do the foreign shows just because the copyright stuff to get right is kind of a huge headache. So, thanks for the comment, though. Got this one, makes my day go better than without. Michael comments, love Jeff Regan and Jack Webb. This series was outstanding. Same goes for Pat Novak for Hire. Thanks for doing such a splendid job making these fine programs available again. Your commentary on the programs really brings them to life. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you so much for your kind comments. All right, well, before we get into today's episode of Let George Do It, I want to let you know about Audible. You know, I've talked about the entertainment value of Audible's wide variety of audiobooks. But Audible offers more than entertainment, offers the opportunity to obtain information. The amount that you are able to read in terms of being able to study new nonfiction books can play a huge factor in your success in life, but many people are on the go, so they don't have time to sit down and read. That's where Audible really comes in handy. I use Audible to get Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath, a great book about what makes some ideas work and some don't. Was able to find time to listen to it, pick up the principles being taught. You can see if an audiobook might work for you. Listeners to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio can try Audible free for 2 weeks and get a free audiobook. Go to audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio. Now let's get into today's episode of Let George Do It, The Four-Sided Triangle.
Standard of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invites you to Let George Do It. The Four-Sided Triangle, another adventure of George Valentine.
Personal notice, danger's my stock and trade.
If life's tossed you into a barrel of trouble, you got a job for me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Dear Mr. Valentine, I'm here briefly on a visit from Canada just to make certain of one thing. Was Dr. Kenneth Sterrett, my best friend, murdered, or was it really an automobile accident? As a novelist, I admit the situation is trite. The older, successful man, the restless, beautiful wife. And if my suspicions are right, even the inevitable other man. If you care to interest yourself in something you may dismiss as an obsession on my part, I'll be at my hotel all day. Sincerely, Owen Marby.
I checked every angle, Marby, and there's no reason to suspect that Dr. Sterrett's death wasn't an accident.
But, Mr. Valentine, my stubbornness about Ken being murdered isn't exactly groundless.
Yeah, well, maybe. But there are a lot of dangerous hairpin turns coming down Eagle Canyon Drive. The Sterrett house is practically on the mountaintop, and there's always a fog rolling in there at night.
I knew Ken very well. He was my roommate when he was going to medical school at the University of Toronto. He was the most exasperatingly careful, methodical man I've ever known. He drove a car the way old ladies used to drive electric buggies.
But that night he received an emergency call from a hospital. He may have been in a hurry.
And there's something else.
Yeah?
Last year, on my way to a lecture engagement, my plane had to stop over for a few hours. I had a drink with Ken, and he showed me a picture of Juliet, his wife.
Go on.
He implied, and very definitely, that they weren't happy. He suspected there was another man, though he didn't know who it was. Later, at the airport, by the merest coincidence, I saw Julia and that other man. They were in the cocktail bar.
But how can you be sure that was the man, Mr. Martin?
Well, they're seen almost constantly together now. His name is Charles Dallison. But this is the important point. They're very careful to give the impression they didn't meet until after the so-called accident. Why?
Well, that's an interesting question. Now, tell me. Julia Sterrett doesn't know you, does she?
No. Ken may have mentioned me casually, but that's about all.
Huh? Then I could be Owen Marby.
Well, you sound as though that imagination of yours is going into action.
Well, just like you, Marby, I'm flying blind at the moment. But I'll see what I can do to put your mind at rest. Okay, now, Brooksy, you're on your own. Don't let the head waiter steer you anywhere but the booth next to Julia and Dawson. It's all reserved for you.
But how do you know they're going to show up for dinner tonight?
Well, I checked that, too. Just try to overhear as much as you can. Now, I got to get going. Julia Sterrett, isn't it?
I beg your pardon?
Well, I recognized you at once from the picture Ken sent me, and the head waiter assured me I was right. I'm Owen Marby.
Oh, yes, I remember. Ken used to speak about you. Charles, this is one of Ken's friends from Canada.
Dallison's the name.
How do you do?
Would you join us, Mr. Marby?
Oh, well, thank you, but worse luck, I have to meet a book critic in a few minutes.
Oh, that's right. You are a novelist, aren't you?
Yes, Mrs. Sterrett. But I still manage to find life infinitely stranger than fiction. For instance, running into you at Henri's like this tonight. But I was going to look you up anyway, Julia.
I should hope so.
I thought it no more than right to apologize for making it more difficult for you after Ken's death.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Well, I must confess that when I first heard what happened, I was convinced there was foul play.
You don't write mystery novels by any chance, Mr. Marby?
No, I don't. It sounds like it, doesn't it? No, I should have known that if there were any suspicion in that direction, the county autopsy surgeon would have cleared it all up.
Autopsy? But why...
Well, you see, in a rash moment, I even wrote your district attorney what seems now to have been a melodramatic and slightly hysterical note.
I think you can be forgiven, Marby. You know, a tribute to your friendship with Dr. Sterrett rather than your zeal as a busybody.
Oh, but I won't consider myself really forgiven, Julia, unless you have dinner with me tomorrow. Of course, the invitation includes you too, Dallison.
Sounds delightful. But why so formal? I think you two can find your way to my mountaintop. Suppose both of you just drop in tomorrow evening.
Oh, fine, thank you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must be running along. Nice to have met you, Dallison.
Thank you.
And I know we'll have a lot to talk about, Julia. Good night.
Good night.
I don't like it, Charles. I don't like it at all.
No, please, Julia.
The man is lying. I'm sure Ken never sent him any picture of me. This was no coincidence tonight. I tell you, he staged it. He's up to something.
Shut up, Julia. Do you want the whole place to hear you?
He's the only one who never believed it was an accident. I could tell by the tone of his letter of condolence. He still doesn't believe it.
Julia, we'll have to do something about your nerves. If you let a little thing like this upset you...
Let's get out of here, Charles.
Brooksy, for the love of heaven, where you been? What happened to you? Do you know what time it is?
Oh, if you stop laughing at me with questions, darling, I'll give you all the horrendous details.
Okay, come on.
Oh, my feet. Let me sit down.
Oh, here, sit down.
Well, how did I know those two are going to park halfway up Eagle Canyon Drive and get into a gabfest?
What? How the dickens did you get way up there on Eagle Canyon Drive with them?
Well, in that booth, I could hardly hear anything they were saying, except that they were going to leave in a few minutes.
Yeah?
Well, so I beat it out and wrapped myself in the blanket in the back of their car.
Oh, great. All they had to do was spot you, and then you'd have been...
not a chance. It was too dark in the back of that custom job. It's a half a block from the front seat. I had all I could do to hear what they were talking about.
Well, for the moment, I won't inquire how Claire Brooks' girl Gumshoe got away undetected, but just what did you overhear?
Well, nothing and everything. See what you can make out of this conversation.
I can't help it, Charles. There was something about Marby. I can't explain it. It was as though he were laughing at us all the time.
You're going to make life very difficult for yourself, Julia. If you go to pieces every time you bump into a visiting fireman who once knew your husband.
Oh, darling, let's not wait any longer. It's been 8 months now since Ken. There's no reason why we can't be married.
It's simply not the way I planned it. But wait 1 year. That morally approved period for widow's weeds to blossom forth again into passion flowers.
You and your plans. I want to be able to laugh again.
And I want you to, Julia. We'll laugh together. And wherever we go, we'll have the orchestra play something fitting. Say the Merry Widow Waltz?
Isn't there anything you can't joke about? Didn't you feel any qualms at all when Marby went babbling on about writing the district attorney? That nonsense about an autopsy? Didn't you...
Wait a minute, Julia. Yes, autopsy. A term so briefly used by policemen when they suspect poison in the case.
Charles.
Come to think of it, Julia, maybe you're right. We ought to know more about our guest from Canada. It'll help us decide the best way to entertain him tomorrow night.
Well, what do you say, George?
Well, give me a minute, will you, Angel? See, incidentally, how did you get back without being seen? It's 4 miles from that Eagle's Nest to the boulevard, and not a house or a gas station in between.
Oh, when I took off my high heels, it was a snap. Got an extra pair of arch supports on you, mister?
Oh, brother. A mere man salutes you, Brooksy.
Eddie, you buster. I still say, what do you make of it?
Oh, not a thing you could stick a pen in. Or which they couldn't deny having said. But it wouldn't be going out on a limb to assume that the suspicions of Owen Marby are far more fact than fiction. Okay, Lieutenant, don't blow your top. I'm not asking you to exhume Dr. Sterrett's body.
Well, thanks, Valentine. That's real white of you.
Just the same, I bet the medical examiner would find traces of something to show the doctor was poisoned, and it was no accident that he lost control of the car,
Miss
and I'll bet
Brooks,
that...
the ME might even find the lost cord, but I can't go asking for an autopsy order on just a lot of hearsay evidence and vague suspicion.
Well, I was only trying to help
It's a pretty generally accepted thing that once people are dead, you ought to leave them alone.
Oh, really?
Unless there's a darn good reason to dig them up.
Look, please, both of you, what's all the shooting about? I didn't even suggest anything like that.
Well, you might have.
After all this time, even if we found anything, it wouldn't clinch the case against either Mrs. Sterrett or Dellison. It'd be too circumstantial.
Oh, now, look, don't get me wrong, Valentine. If you came up with something tangible, I'd be glad to play ball. As it is, what do you want from me?
Okay. Tomorrow, I'd like you to put a man on Charles Dellison's tail and report on everything he does.
All right. I guess I can do that.
Brooksy can keep an eye on Mrs. Sterrett.
Within reason. I'm not at my best climbing up and down mountains.
Just as they want to be prepared to receive me, I'd like to hold a few top cards myself.
Darling, you're not only going in the wrong direction from the Starrett house, but you're going there a little too fast.
I don't recall any 60 miles an hour zones within the city limit.
Would you mind going over your day with Mrs. Sterrett again, Angel? There's one part of it that intrigues me.
Oh, I don't know why. Beauty parlor at 11. Lunch at Miranda's tea room alone. Visit to a Dr. Rayford on Barton Street. A stop over to Rexall Drugstore, and so to home.
Huh? I think I'll have a few words with Dr. Rayford on the way out.
Well, why, George?
Old operations always make stimulating conversation. But right now, I'd better take care of this little matter.
George!
Sorry, Brooksy.
Well, of all the dopey things, what are you trying to do?
You'll see, Angel. All right, Buster, get out of that car.
What's the idea of stopping that way? Want to kill somebody?
Step out, friend, outside. Don't get bug-eyed. You've seen a gun before.
What is it, George?
Just a minute, Brooksy. All right, now, Bud, you've been on my tail all day.
Well, you're nuts.
You ought to know better than to try to shadow somebody with that beach umbrella jacket you're wearing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'll break it down into one-syllable words. Dallison hired you, didn't he? Have you reported to him yet? Okay, I don't have time to play games with you. But you present a very vexing problem, fella.
Yeah, I see what you mean. What are you going to do with him, George?
I think we'll drop him off at headquarters and let Lieutenant Riley keep him company.
Yeah, but if he hasn't called Dallison, they're bound to wonder why.
And it may even cramp their style tonight. I hope. Because it looks like those two will be playing for keeps. Okay, Buster, start moving. I got a very important date.
We'll return to tonight's adventure of George Valentine in just a moment. Whether you're driving a brand new car or one of the older models, there's one way, and a sure way, of getting the very best performance out of it. And that's to depend on Chevron Supreme gasoline. For this carefully blended high-octane gasoline puts command performance in your car. It commands fast starts, smooth, steady acceleration, all the extra power your car needs on steep hills. No matter where you motor in the West, you can be sure of command performance from your car when you have Chevron Supreme in the tank. That's because this premium quality fuel is climate-tailored to each different altitude and temperature zone. Makes no difference if you're driving in the Northwest, in the desert, the Rocky Mountain country, or in the coastal cities. Chevron Supreme is climate-tailored to your region. And that's why you can count on it. So, to get the best out of your car, get Chevron Supreme tomorrow. Get it at standard stations and at independent Chevron gas stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. And now back to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. Every 45 minutes a murder takes place. Every 2 hours said murder is a perfect crime. So, if you're in George Valentine's business, you can just take it in stride when you have to impersonate a Canadian novelist to prove an 8-month-old accident was a homicide. But then you find yourself being shadowed, so that as you set out to meet the suspected couple, you're really quite grim. Meantime, a minor crisis is taking place between Brooksy and Lieutenant Riley in the latter's office.
A fine thing, Miss Brooks. I agreed to cooperate with you and Valentine, and what happens? What happens?
Well, you did manage to keep this Eddie Thorpe under wraps for the night.
Well, sure, on a vagrancy charge. But one of these days I'm going to get caught up the creek without a paddle messing around with you two.
Well, I wish I knew what George expected to find stopping off at Dr. Rayford's office. Mrs. Starrett only dropped in there for a few minutes today.
Don't you know by now that when he gets a brainstorm, it's like an act of nature? You don't know what he'll do next or why. I tell you, one of these days I'll... Hello, Riley. Oh, Valentine, where the devil are you? I thought you'd be with them by now.
Oh.
What? Shh, quiet. Okay, I'm listening. Go on.
Wait.
Now, look, you. I'm not going to be a party to anything like that. Now, don't be a fool.
What are you going to do?
Quiet, will you? No, not you. You know what it'll mean if it doesn't work? Now, wait a minute. Sure, I can get the ME's office to make up that prescription, but listen to reason. You can't. Yes, I understand, but... Okay.
What does he want you to do? You can at least tell me that.
He wants you to park on Eagle Canyon Drive, just around the first turn, coming down from the Starrett home. You're going to have a little package to give him.
Package?
Yeah. I'll be waiting down on the boulevard for the both of you.
But George never keeps me in the dark like this. Why now? Why?
Hello. Let me have the medical examiner's office. Well, find him wherever he is. It's an emergency.
How about another drink, Marby?
Soda, wasn't it?
Yes, thanks. You know, I'll be glad to get back to Canada so I can tackle my new novel again.
Four-sided triangle. With an odd title.
Yeah, the story's been giving me quite a bit of trouble.
Oh, really? What's the plot? Maybe we can help.
Well, frankly, nothing very original. The usual triangle. But the lovers are completely successful in doing away with the husband in the case.
I'm sorry.
You've already begun to intrigue Julia, but go on, Marby.
Well, they do it so neatly, in fact, there's no suspicion of crime. Not a shred.
Then what seems to be the trouble?
I can't decide whether to let my hero and heroine, if you can call them that, live happily forever after, or let them face retribution.
Here you are.
Oh, yes, thank you very much. I was playing around with the notion of introducing a character who won't believe the husband's death was an accident.
The fourth side of the triangle, I presume?
Yes, that's it exactly. He's one of those virtuous, pig-headed men. He doesn't rest until he ferrets out the truth. And, well, so on and so forth. How does it sound to you, Julia?
He sounds like such an exemplary character. Would you say he was quite true to life?
Oh, well, just take me, for example. My first impulse when I heard about Ken. I kept seeing in the accident more than there was. And I imagine I'm fairly typical.
Was that your only problem with the book, Marby?
No, but I was thinking of introducing something more subtle. You know, try to find some little, almost meaningless thing my two scoundrels might have overlooked in their planning. Say a matter of coincidence.
I thought novelists always tried to avoid coincidence.
Well, why should they? It happens all the time. Now, you and Dallison here, Julia.
What about us?
Well, I doubt if anyone's aware that you knew each other before Ken's accident.
Well, as a matter of fact, we didn't.
Let him go on, Julia. This is very interesting.
But see, that merest of chance I was talking about. I happened to see you together in the cocktail bar at the airport.
What?
Yes, it was last year, and I only stopped over in town for a few hours.
Goodness, we're out of ice. I better go in the kitchen and get some.
Excuse me, Marby. There's always a running feud between Julia and the ice trays.
Oh, I understand. I had the same trouble.
Julia, you realize what you have to do.
Charles, another...
He knows. The three of us know now. That this of us being together at the airport can lead to a lot of other things.
And why is he toying?
Because, fortunately for us, he's a ham. At the right moment, see that stuff gets in his drink.
Couldn't we wait till that man you hired calls?
Whatever he found out following Marby isn't important now. Now listen carefully, Julia. He has to have enough liquor in him so that when he's found, it'll be obvious why he went over the side into the canyon. There'll be no questions.
I can't. Oh, Charles, I can't.
The timing has to be just right. We'll have to get him out of here so it'll happen when he's halfway down the mountain, where the curves are the worst. So you wait till I give the signal.
I wish I could be the one to give the signal. Just for once.
When I think he's had enough, I'll raise my finger like this. I'll say, "This has been great fun, Marby. Let's do this more often."
All right, Charles.
And for heaven's sake, try to control yourself. The rest of our lives depends on how we act in the next hour.
Well, it's about time, Ferris.
I did everything but fly, Lieutenant.
Okay, I'll take that. Here you are, Miss Brooks.
I'll ask you again, Lieutenant. What is this? What have I got here?
I told you before Valentine made up the rules for this little game. I didn't want any part of it. You heard me on the phone. Now there's no choice but to play it his way. Just give him that package.
For 2 cents, I'd call a cab, just so I could tell somebody where to go.
Go on, get in that car and get started. And remember, park just this side of the last big turn before you get to the top.
And you know why none of my novels made any of the book clubs?
Why, no, Marby, why?
They never been long enough. They gotta be at least 900 pages before they're even considered. They don't bother reading them. They just weigh them.
You sound bitter, Owen.
Oh, thank you very much. Gin and bitters. Don't mind if I do. It's a very fine drink.
Oh, say, look at the time. You know, this has been great fun, Marty. Let's do this more often.
That's right. We must do this more often. Let's make it soon.
Oh. Hey there, Julia. What are you doing all the way over there?
Just getting a little nightcap. We can all do with one, I think.
Oh, good.
Here's yours, Charles. And yours, Owen.
All right, thank you. What do we drink to?
Why not to your new book?
Oh, yes, that's very good. The Four-Sided Triangle. What? It tastes funny, doesn't it? I'll tell you a secret. I can't even taste it at all.
Well, old man, I'll see you at your car, eh? I'll put on the floodlights. It's beginning to fog up in the canyon.
All right. Good night. Good night. And sweetest dreams be thine through all thy shining way. Poetry.
Yes. And watch yourself driving, Marty. We wouldn't want anything to happen to you.
Have you got it, Brooks? Let me have it.
Oh, darling, I saw your headlights waving down your...
Quick.
Well, here, but...
I'll get inside and take the wheel.
Okay, George.
Here's to you, Brooksy. Happy days.
Oh, darling, you know you're scaring me to death, don't you?
It makes a couple of scared people. Step on it, Angel. Okay, Miss Brooks, we'll take care of him
She
now.
fainted. I didn't dare stop.
Yeah, I know. Come on, boys. Come on. Get him into the ambulance.
Got to hold Edmund, don't we?
Yeah. All right, let's go.
I'm going with him,
You'd
Lieutenant.
only be in the way, believe me.
In the way? Well, you don't expect me to
Now,
stand...
boys, don't wait for the hospital. Start pumping him out now.
Pumping him out? You knew this was going to happen and you let it. And now you're going to tell me.
There was no stopping him.
What did he do?
He found out Dr. Rayford gave Mrs. Starrett a prescription for some poison today.
Poison?
Presumably to make a solution to use on her flower beds. Being a colleague of her late husband, he didn't even think twice about it.
And George walked into this and purposely let him
The stuff
trap
in
me.
the bottle you gave him is supposed to be the antidote for the poison. If he got it in time.
Oh, that big, crazy, stubborn...
Well,
loon.
that's what your boyfriend calls getting evidence that'll stand up in court. He just naturally likes to do things the hard way.
You must forgive me, Lieutenant Riley. This has been a great shock. Mr. Marby was my husband's best friend.
Yeah. Just when did he leave? What time was it?
Oh, hours ago. About 10:30. You see, he was feeling rather, gay. We felt that if he was going to drive, he oughtn't overdo it.
Even so, I suggested that he stay over. Oh, this is terrible.
Yeah. Well, like they say, liquor and gasoline don't mix. I guess it'll be the same routine report. Do you mind if I sit down?
No. Go ahead.
Sometimes I wish we could make some of these fool drivers take a look at what we saw when we found Marby down in the canyon. Oh, believe me, it would make them think he wasn't a pretty sight.
Lieutenant, please stop it.
Now, Julia, we know you're upset, but this isn't going to help any.
Nothing's going to help now.
Marby!
Hello.
No!
Julia.
No! Don't come near me! We killed you, didn't we, Charles? We killed him! Just like we did Ken. We're only imagining this. Everything's going to turn out all right. Tomorrow we're going to laugh and be happy. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way.
That's it, Lieutenant.
Hey,
Say, Valentine, were you serious about the way you wanted me to dedicate my next book?
I certainly was serious about the way you dedicate your next book. Sure was, Mr. Marby. To Mr. and Mrs. George Valentine.
Mr. Darling!
So you just let us know, Marby, and we'll make a special trip down to City Hall the very day your book comes off the press.
Oh, golly, I just don't believe it.
I like your other suggestion, too. I should be more commercial. Aim for the book club. Write something 800-900 pages. Of course, it'll take years before I get it to my publisher, but it may be worth it.
Years, huh? Why doesn't one of these build-ups ever pay off for me? Oh, maybe I just don't live right.
The return of spring means, for most folks, the time for another house cleaning. And speaking of things attended to at regular intervals, how long has it been since your car's oil has been changed? You know, for the life of your car's engine, nothing is more important than a crankcase drain and a refill with RPM motor oil at regular intervals. Like any other piece of equipment used daily, your car's engine is bound to accumulate a certain amount of harmful contaminating material. RPM motor oil was compounded to take care of these troublemakers, to keep them from building upon interior engine parts during the oil service period. When the oil is changed, this harmful material is drained out. That's how compounded RPM keeps your engine clean mile after mile. And that's not all. For RPM also protects hot spots left bare and exposed to wear by ordinary motor oils. It stops corrosion and rust-proofs as it lubricates. Why not see about that oil drain and refill tomorrow? And for protection you trust, be sure you refill with RPM motor oil, first choice in the West. Get RPM at independent Chevron gas stations and at standard stations where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. Next week, we'll pick up George Valentine in Mexico, in a house as mysterious and sinister as its name, Casa Diablo.
George, if Bixby had somebody in this house to see that none of us left here alive, whoever it is must have turned on him. You know, like Frankenstein turning on his... George, you're not even listening to me.
Angel, if there's a grammar school around here, I think I'm going to enroll in the kindergarten.
Huh?
We're right down to the oldest outdoor sport in the world, Brooksy. The hunter and the hunted.
Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West. Let George Do It stars Robert Bailey as George with Francis Robinson as Brooksy. Wally Mayer appears as Lieutenant Riley. Tonight's story was written by David Victor and Herbert Little Jr. and directed by Don Clark. Also heard in the cast were Barton Yarborough as Marby, Doreen Tuttle as Julia, William Woodson as Charles, and Mark Lawrence as Ferris. The music is composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, that has to be one of the gutsiest ways to solve a mystery. Taking poison? But it all worked out for George Valentine. It was nice to see Barton Yarborough doing a not obviously a Texas accent. Most shows I hear him, he's doing either a Texan or maybe just a general Southerner sometimes. But he does have some flexibility of his voice, and you see it there. You also see it when we get to do Christopher London. All right, we have some more comments. I love your show and listen to several episodes of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and Let George Do It daily at work on my iPhone. Really enjoy your choice of shows and your commentaries. Please keep up the good work converting folks from TV to radio. Sincerely, David. And got some more comments. This one regarding our list of detective shows. Please consider running Mr. District Attorney, Mr. King, Tracer of Lost Persons, and Dangerous Assignment are all great shows. I'm an app user and an avid podcast user. Thanks for the podcast. Well, thank you so much for your comments. Got those on the list of shows to recommend. I haven't gotten a whole lot of recommendations for shows that on my undecided list in quite a while. I've been working through in alphabetical order. So we're up to Danger Dr. Danfield. And so Dangerous Assignment, it will be shortly. I'm going through every series that I've not decided whether to play or not, and making the decision well in advance as to whether it will be something I put in our repertoire. Also listen to episodes of shows like Suspense and The Chase to see if they might be suitable additions to the show. So we'll be listening to Dangerous Assignments in a few weeks. From what little I've heard, it does sound like a good show, but I always want to gauge it from a more full sample. And finally, I've got this comment. I love the show. Old Radio is awesome. Well, thanks so much. Before we get into today's episode of Sherlock Holmes, I'd like to let you know a little bit about Netflix. You know, since my wife and I have been married, we have not had cable television or satellite. That's not because there's nothing ever good on television. It just seems like there's so little that we enjoy watching that we'd rather just pay for the stuff we watch. That's why we've got Netflix. With Netflix, you get the programming you want, the type of shows you enjoy. You love a good mystery, they have a wide variety, including Jeremy Brett's Sherlock Holmes, Quincy from the 1970s, as well as Canon, available for instant watching, and pretty much any series you can think of available for their DVDs by mail. Listeners can try out Netflix free now for a month. Go to netflix.greatdetectives.net. Now let's get into today's episode of Sherlock Holmes, The Adventure of the Blarney Stone.
Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another story about his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. And incidentally, I'd like to tell you about a swell American custom. The custom of serving sherry wine just before dinner. Petri California sherry. You know, especially when you have guests, while you're waiting for that call to the dinner table, there's nothing better than a good glass of that good Petri sherry. You don't need fancy glasses for Petri sherry. No, sir. That wine tastes good out of any glass. And it looks good, too. Beautifully clear and the color of precious amber. Just try that Petri sherry and you'll feel like smacking your lips after every sip. Oh, and say, Petri makes two kinds of sherry. The regular sherry and Petri pale dry sherry. Just to make sure you get the perfect sherry for the whole family, don't buy one, buy two. But do be sure the sherry you buy is Petri sherry. Petri, the proudest name in the history of American wine. And now I'm sure our good friend Dr. Watson's ready for us. Let's go in and join him.
Oh, there you are, Mr. Bartell.
Good evening, Doctor. Say, where are the puppies this evening?
Mr. Bartell, don't you think it's about time you began to refer to them as the dogs? They're almost a year old, you know.
I stand corrected. Where are the dogs this evening?
Well, they had another furious battle with a dead seal on the beach today. My housekeeper, Mrs. West, is giving them a much-needed bath.
They certainly have an aversion to seals, don't they? Well, Doctor, are you all ready with tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure?
Yes, my boy, and as yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, I decided to tell you a story that took place in Ireland a few years before the turn of the century. I imagine that you've heard of kissing the Blarney stone, haven't you?
Oh, yes, Doctor, though I've never understood exactly what it meant.
Well, let me explain it to you, because the ceremony plays a very important part in the story tonight. Blarney Castle is an imposing 15th century ruin a few miles outside the town of Cork. The castle is many stories high, and in the foremost tower, the famous Blarney stone is situated.
What's supposed to be the point in kissing it, Doctor?
The stone is considered a powerful talisman, and the legend runs that whoever kisses it is endowed with eloquence for life.
Say, Doctor, if I ever get over to Ireland, I'll certainly kiss that stone. But you're such a storyteller yourself, Doctor. I bet you've kissed it, huh?
No, Mr. Bartell. I'm afraid I never had quite enough courage.
Courage? Well, why does it need courage, Doctor?
Well, because the Blarney stone is set in a most inaccessible position on the outside wall. To kiss it, it is customary to lower the candidate for eloquence over the rampart, head foremost, with a friend hanging on to his heels.
From the top of a castle? It does sound dangerous, Doctor.
Oh, it was, my boy, so much so that in recent years a great row of iron spikes is put round the parapet to prevent an accident. Though, of course, at the time tonight's story took place, there was no such guard.
And I have a feeling that an accident did take place, Doctor?
No, Mr. Bartell, let me tell you the story from the beginning. Sherlock Holmes and I were staying in the city of Cork, where the great man had just solved the singular affair which the local press had referred to as the Leprechaun Murders. A few days before our departure for England, we paid a visit to Blarney Castle. I must confess that I had a certain desire to test the miraculous powers attributed to the Blarney stone. I very soon changed my mind, however, as Holmes and I stood there, high on the turrets of Blarney Castle, and watched a terrified initiate being hauled up by his ankles and yelling at the top of his voice.
Pull me up! Pull me up quickly! I think I'm going to faint!
Great Scott, I had no idea that kissing the Blarney stone was such a hazardous proceeding, Holmes.
Yes. It would seem that eloquence could be more easily obtained than by hanging suspended by one's ankles from a battlement with 100-foot drop below and kissing a piece of stone.
Oh, I'll never do that again. Oh, I'll never.
I must say, I don't blame the fellow.
And yet, my dear chap, on our way over here, you expressed a sneaking desire to kiss the stone yourself. I'll be very happy to hold your ankles if you want to try the experiment.
No, thank you. After witnessing the ceremony, I've changed my mind.
Then I suggest we make our way back downstairs. I don't think there's much more to be seen up here.
Well, by the way, Holmes, do you know the origin of the superstition regarding the Blarney stone?
Yes, I do, old chap. The stone was, story of the stone dates back to the middle of the 15th century. A certain Cormac McCarthy, called the Strong, a descendant of the ancient kings of Munster and builder of this castle, chanced one day to save an old woman from drowning. In her gratitude, she offered Cormac a golden tongue, which would have the power to influence men and women, friends and foes, as he willed. She told him to mount the battlement and kiss a certain stone in the wall 5 feet below the gallery running round the top. He followed her directions and obtained all the fluent persuasiveness she had promised.
And I suppose the story spread, and the Blarney stone has been a magnet to pilgrims ever since.
Yeah, a pleasant legend.
Holmes.
Yes, old chap?
Tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. I bet there'll be quite a bit of excitement in the village tonight. Don't you think it'd be rather fun to pay a visit to one of the local inns?
Splendid idea, old chap. Our rather arduous work here in Ireland is concluded, and I think we're more than entitled to a little gaiety.
In Dublin's fair city, the girl was so pretty. 'Twas there that I first met sweet Molly Malone. She wheeled her wheelbarrow.
Charming, quite charming. A waiter and singing at his work.
Singing very well, too. Just the same, I wish someone would come and take our order.
Oh, there's a barmaid. I'll see if I can catch her eye. Hi, miss.
Would you gentlemen be after wanting something?
Yes, my dear. My friend and I would like a little refreshment, and what would you suggest?
What would I suggest, Your Honor? Oh, begorra. There's but one drink a gentleman like yourself should be after pouring down you, and that's the cream of Connemara. Whiskey that'll soften your heart and make you glow with a good feeling, so that the little people will be after visiting you.
It sounds delightful. Bring 2 glasses, will you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. I must say I never heard an English barmaid go into such rhapsodies over a nip of whiskey.
No, the Irish are distinctly more colourful in their speech. It's an interesting fact, though, Watson, that the Irish are curiously unrewarding in the criminal world. England, Scotland, America, Australia have all produced classics of crime, but the Irish murders, almost without exception, have been purely physical, affairs of hot blood.
You say that rather regretfully, Holmes.
No, my dear chap, no. I say, Watson, look at this rather florid-looking gentleman coming towards our table.
It looks to me as if he's a little under the weather.
You fellas have got to have a drink with me.
Oh, thank you, sir, thank you, but we've just ordered one.
Well, you've got to have it with me. I went to the races at Cork today and made a killing. I'm going to buy all the drinks here tonight.
I'm afraid that...
Nothing to be afraid of. I'll sit down with you for a moment. There. My name's Hankin, Geoffrey Hankin. What's yours?
Mine is Holmes, and this is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do,
sir? How do you do?
Your Honors, that'll be 1 and 6.
Here, I'm paying for these here. Half a crown, and you can keep the change.
Oh, blessings on you, Your Honor.
Oh, well, if you insist on paying for our drinks, Mr. Hankin, here's your very good health.
Yes, indeed.
You're both English, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
So am I, and it's certainly a relief to hear an English voice again.
Oh, you don't like the Irish lilt, sir?
Can't bear it.
Personally, I find it rather charming.
Yes, indeed, so do I.
Well, you wouldn't if you had to live with it all the time. Sometimes I think that if I hear one more Irish tenor singing Molly Malone, or one more reference to the little people, I shall go raving mad.
You live in Ireland, sir?
Yeah, I have to. I own a half interest in the Tweed mill here, you see. In any case, my wife's Irish, and she thinks there's no other country in the world, so I suppose I'm stuck here. See that couple sitting at the table over there?
You mean the fellow with the very beautiful girl?
Yes. Man's Michael Corcoran, my partner.
Oh, the girl's absolutely ravishing.
You'd like to meet her?
I'd like to, by George, yes. What do you say, Holmes?
Oh, very well, Watson. The combination of my natural curiosity and your taste for a pretty face would seem to suit the occasion admirably.
I might as well warn you, Doctor, that the pretty face belongs to my wife.
Your wife? Oh, good gracious me. I didn't mean to...
Oh, well, you better bring your glasses with you. Molly, my dear, I want you to meet 2 English friends of mine, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
How do you do, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson? Won't you sit down and join us?
And this is my partner, Michael Corcoran.
How do you do, Mr. Corcoran?
How do you do, son?
I'm glad to meet you. Please be seated, gentlemen.
Are you visiting here in Cork, Mr.
Yes,
Holmes?
Mrs. Hankin, but we're returning to England in a few days.
You've been to Blarney Castle, I hope.
Oh, yes, we were there this afternoon.
And did either of you have the courage to kiss the Blarney Stone?
No, we didn't. I'm afraid it's an athletic feat that's beyond me.
It's a lot of rubbish, that's what it is. Kissing a slab of stone.
Have you the courage to do it, Geoffrey?
Oh, of course I have, but I don't want to make a fool of myself. Where's the barmaid? Kathleen.
I'll make a wager, Geoffrey, that you haven't the courage to kiss the stone.
How much will you bet, Michael?
I'll wager a £10 note on it.
It's a bet, and you fellas witnessed it. I'll kiss the Blarney Stone at noon tomorrow, and you'll be £10 the poorer, Michael. And I suggest that Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson be present as well. They can act as referees.
Geoffrey, dear, don't get so excited.
Well, I don't like it when Michael suggests I don't have courage.
You want some more drink, Mr. Henkin?
Yes, all of us want some.
No more for me, thank you, Mr.
No more for
and
me,
I
thank you.
think you've had enough, Geoffrey.
Don't tell me when I've had enough, Molly.
In Dublin, fair city, the girls
Oh, no,
are so
not that
pretty.
filthy song.
Firstly, Mr. Hankin, I find the traditional Irish melodies quite beautiful.
And I find them revolting.
Stop!
Geoffrey, quiet.
Would Your Honor be wanting me to sing another song?
My honor would like you to shut up that filthy caterwaul.
Really, sir, really, I call it
Geoffrey.
most unschoolable.
Sean, please go on with your singing.
In Dublin's fair city.
You heard me, you great bog-trotting gossoon. I said shut up, and I meant shut up!
Geoffrey, I'm leaving here at once. Michael, please to take me home.
It'll be my pleasure, Molly.
You're an ugly man, Mr. Henkin. Knocking down poor Sean when he was singing just like a bird.
Oh, the devil with him, and all of you.
No Irishman will be after forgiving you for this night's work. No, not the little people of old Ireland either. You've made more enemies, Mr. Henkin, than you'll ever see. But you'll be knowing they're there.
Fiddlesticks, you can't frighten me with your stupid Irish superstition.
Well, bless my soul, that was a charming little party, I must say.
Englishmen like Hankin are a disgrace to their country. Fortunately, they're not representative, though.
Yes, I must say I'd hate to have a curse put on me like that barmaid laid on him.
Watson.
Yes?
Did you see the glances which Mr. Hankin's partner and his wife exchanged as the brawl started? There was more menace to him in those glances than in all the threats of all the little people in Ireland.
Yes. I thought that there was something between them. I say, Holmes, that bet about Hankin kissing the Blarney stone at noon tomorrow, do you suppose...
I suppose nothing, old fellow. That there are forces at work here that I don't like. I think, Watson, that you and I will be at the Blarney Stone at noon tomorrow. It's possible that the bet made tonight is all part of a definite plan, and I have a feeling that the bet is still on. Quite windy up here today, old fellow, at the top of the tower, isn't it?
Yes, it's just past noon. I wonder if that man Hankin is going to keep to the terms of his bet.
We shall soon learn. In the meanwhile, are you sure that you wouldn't like to change your mind and kiss the Blarney Stone yourself?
I'm quite sure, thank you. Ah, here they come now.
Yes. Hankin and his partner, Mr. Corcoran. The bet is on, Watson. Good day to you, gentlemen.
Oh, hello. It's my friends from last night.
Well, I see you're going through with the bet, son.
Oh, yes. Geoffrey set his mind on the 10 pounds of mine.
Your wife didn't accompany you, Mr. Hankin?
No, she didn't. I'm afraid I'm rather in disgrace for my behavior last night. Molly made me go round and see that waiter fellow that I hit. I offered him money, but he wouldn't take it.
Did you offer him an apology?
Apologize? To a waiter? I should say not. Well, come on, let's get this stupid farce over with.
Are you sure your nerves can stand it, Geoffrey? There's a drop of 100 feet or more below you.
Oh, don't worry about me, Michael. Just hold on to my ankles tightly and don't let go. I'll climb onto the parapet. There we are. Now hold on to my feet, Michael, and lower me gently.
I'm holding you, Geoffrey.
Then lower away.
Right you are, Geoffrey.
Great Scott, I wouldn't do that for 100 pounds. Sliding head first down a vertical wall.
That's enough, Michael. I can reach the stone.
Oh, his boots! They're slipping through my fingers. I can't hold it.
Let me help you.
I'm slipping. Pull me.
Hold on to him. Hold on to him.
Oh, he's gone. I just couldn't hold him.
Great heavens. No man could survive that drop.
Mr. Corcoran, you deliberately let your partner slip to his death. This is murder.
But I don't understand. I'm a strong man. But he just vanished out of my hands like a greased pig.
Let me see your hands, Mr. Corcoran.
This is dreadful. Dreadful.
There's grease on your hands. Grease. And with a faint trace of boot blacking.
Good Lord, Holmes, that means that...
Watson, that someone, knowing that Hankin was going to kiss the Blarney Stone, smeared his boots with grease, so that he would slip out of the grasp of whoever was holding him. As clever a method of indirect long-distance murder as ever I've encountered.
You'll hear the remainder of Dr. Watson's story in just a second, so I'm going to remind you that Petri California Sherry is not only wonderful before dinner, but it's good almost any time. If you had to choose just one wine for almost any occasion, that wine would be Petri Sherry. Petri Sherry is a perfect wine to serve in the afternoon or in the evening. It's good before dinner, yes, but it's swell after dinner, too. In fact, with a bottle of Petri Sherry on your shelf, you've got practically a small-sized wine cellar. So get a bottle of Petri Sherry soon. And remember, you can't miss with any wine that has the letters Petri on the label, because all Petri wine is good wine. Well, Dr. Watson, this is quite a story you're telling us tonight. What happened next? I suppose you went down into the castle grounds and looked for the dead man's body?
Oh, we tried to, Mr. Bartell, but the authorities were curiously uncooperative. They refused to let us search, insisting that the police be called first. And so, Mr. Bartell, half an hour after the tragedy, Holmes and I found ourselves standing in a tiny police station as we told the story to the local sergeant.
Sure the saints be praised, Mr. Holmes. 'Tis a terrible story you've told me. Tomorrow I'll be after arresting Sean O'Flaherty.
Sean O'Flaherty? He's the waiter at the inn, the one who sings.
That he is, and he sings like a breath of spring. I'll be sorry to see him hang.
But you've got no proof that he was responsible for the murder?
Proof, you say, sir? Well, I can't arrest a big manufacturing man like Mr. Cochran, can I? Or a fine lady like Mrs. Hankin.
But you can't arrest a man without any evidence of guilt.
Oh, I can't I? Then supposing I tell you that Sean O'Flaherty cleans the boots at the hotel where Mr. Hankin was staying.
He does, eh? Then he had the perfect opportunity for the greasing of Hankin's boots this morning. And we know he had a motive for harming him.
You're right, sir. And for what I have heard of the dead man's behavior last night, half a dozen people could have heard him make the bet that he'd kiss the Blarney stone today. Sean O'Flaherty's our man. I'll have to arrest him tomorrow.
Tomorrow? But good heavens, man, aren't you going to do something today? A murderer is at large.
Today is blessed St. Patrick's Day. Oh, sure, let the poor fellow have the day in peace. Oh, he won't run away.
But my dear son... will you come back with me to the castle and search for the body? They refuse to let me do it alone.
On St. Patrick's Day? That I will not. We would need a crew of helpers, and where will I be after getting them on the blessed St. Patrick's Day? No, we'll do that tomorrow, too. No, today is a day for celebrating.
Oh, your methods astound me, Sergeant.
Do they now, sir? Don't be after fretting about me. Just enjoy yourself today. Tomorrow we'll see what can be done about it. Well, good day to you, gentlemen.
Oh, bless my soul. I've never seen such a happy-go-lucky policeman in my life.
It's infuriating. If only I were allowed to examine Hankin's body, I could get to the bottom of this.
Well, what are you going to do now, Holmes?
The police won't help us. Then we must take the law into our own hands. I think we'll start off by going to the hotel and seeing what we can find out from Sean O'Flaherty.
I was going to Blarney a day, I well remember, for to view the lads and lasses on the 5th day of November with a meringue-do-a-day and a meringue-do-a-daddy. Oh, your honours would be after speaking to me, Sean O'Flaherty, perhaps?
Yes, Sean. Did you know that Mr. Hankin, the man who struck you last night, was dead?
Dead? Well, if ever a man deserved to be beneath the sod, 'twas Geoffrey Hankin himself. A mean, ugly man. The saints be praised that he's gone. How did he die, sir?
He was murdered.
Murdered? Well, bedad, I'm not surprised to hear it. Who murdered him, sir?
At the moment, the police seem to think that you are the culprit.
Myself? Well, how would I be after murdering the man, sir, when I don't even know how he died?
He died when he fell from the top of Blarney Castle as he was trying to kiss the stone.
He fell because Mr. Cochran, his partner, couldn't hold on to his feet. His boots had been greased.
And we know that you have been cleaning his boots, Sean.
That I have, sir. I cleaned them this very morning. But I put no grease on them, if that's what you'd be after suggesting.
I'm suggesting nothing. I'm trying to establish a few facts. Do you know Kathleen, the barmaid?
Oh, and why shouldn't I know her, sir? She's to be me wife before the winter sets in.
She pronounced a curse on the dead man last night, just after he had knocked you down. It's possible that she met...
Here she comes, huh?
Sean, my darling, what are the fine gentlemen doing here?
Oh, Kathleen. They've come to ask me questions about the death of Mr. Hankin. He fell off Blarney Castle today and got himself murdered, they say.
The saints be praised. But what has that to do with you, my darling?
Well, the gentlemen tell me that the village police think that I might have greased his boots so that he slipped to his death.
The village police is as stupid as my father's big sow. If Mr. Hankin fell to his death today because his boots were greased, I can tell you who did it.
Indeed, who?
The little people. I warned Mr. Hankin last night that the little people would be after him. He insulted the Irish.
Oh, come, my dear. You don't seriously expect us to believe in the little people?
And why not, Your Honor? We have them here. Oh, there be those that say the fairies all be dead, but I know different. I've seen them. When I was a slip of a girl, close to where I lived, there was a rat. That's a fort, you know. And the rat was a fairy's fort. We never dared touch it with a spade or cut down a tree growing on it or carry away a stone. We'd put our ear to the ground at night and we could hear the fairy music rising up from under the ground. Ah, they're gentle people. Most of the time. But they'd grease the boots of a man like Mr. Hankin if they didn't like them. That they would, Your Honor.
Holmes, I'm certain that we're wasting our time here.
I feel so, Watson. You get the whole thing turned on the greasing of those boots. If only I could have the boots in my hands. If only I could make laboratory tests. But until that dolt of a police... But of course! I have it, Watson.
You have what, Holmes?
The answer, I hope. Get hold of Mrs. Hankin and Mr. Corcoran. Have them meet me in the Blarney Stone Tower in half an hour.
And you, where are you going?
To the police station to try and convince the sergeant that even though it's St. Patrick's Day, it's his duty to help me trap a murderer.
Do you know, Mr. Holmes, you're an obstinate man. It's blessed St. Patrick's Day, and yet you insist that we meet here on the top of Blarney Castle. What do you think you can prove?
Who murdered Geoffrey Hankin?
But why do Molly and I have to be here?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. And poor Geoffrey's body still lying somewhere below us.
Mrs. Hankin and Mr. Corcoran, I asked Dr. Watson to bring you here for a good reason, I assure you. You ready, Watson?
Quite ready, Holmes.
Good. Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
You asked me why I've assembled the three of you here. I'm going to reconstruct the crime. I shall play the part of the victim. My friend Dr. Watson will represent you, Mr. Corcoran. Now, I straddle the parapet. So. Watson, hold on to my feet, will you?
I've got him, Holmes.
And lower me down the face of the wall.
Right, you are. Holmes, hold tight to the wall. Try and push yourself back. The murderer's tried to get you. Your boots are covered in grease.
Stand back. Come away. Grab my trouser legs, Watson.
I've got him, Holmes. Come, up you come. There we go. Oh, that was a near thing.
Devilish plot, Sergeant, and very cleverly carried out. My boots were ungreased when I entered the castle, and yet someone has been able to apply grease to them without my knowledge within the last few minutes.
Sure, and how is that possible, sir?
I don't know, Sergeant, I must confess.
Holmes, you stumbled as you came up the darkened staircase. Do you remember that?
That's true, old chap, I'd forgotten. And you, Mrs. Hankin, and you, Mr. Corcoran, were kind enough to assist me to my feet. An excellent opportunity to apply the grease. Now we know that one of you two is the murderer. I must have a jar of grease somewhere. Now, Sergeant, will you search the lady while I search Mr. Corcoran?
But this is ridiculous.
Of course it is. How could we be guilty?
Well, if you're not guilty, you've got no objection to being searched, ma'am.
Upon my word, here in your purse, Mrs. Hankin, is a jar of grease.
What?
Now, what have you to say for yourself?
What can't you say, Sergeant? Except that she engineered her husband's murder and tried to engineer mine.
Oh, no. I knew nothing about Geoffrey's murder. Oh, Michael, darling, I swear to you.
Don't worry, my darling. I'll not let them hurt you. I'm telling you, you're wrong, Mr. Holmes. I was the murderer.
Oh, no, Michael. You mustn't sacrifice yourself for me.
I think this little play acting has gone far enough. Mr. Corcoran, you have just offered us what you think we will accept as a false confession. But I've established the one thing I wish to know, that you love your late partner's wife and she you.
I'm proud to admit that, Mr. Holmes. And now that she's a widow, I can say it in the open. But what are you implying?
That you murdered your partner.
But the grease on your own boot, sir. I just found a jar of it in Mrs. Hankin's handbag.
Oh, that, my dear Sergeant, was all part of my little plan. As to the grease on my boots, I confess I placed it there myself. Just as I planted the jar of grease in your bag, Mrs.
But why, Holmes?
A fraud accomplished two ends. It forced you, Mr. Corcoran, into a betrayal of your love. But what was more important, it proved from what Dr. Watson's natural reactions were that a man holding the greased boots could not fail to realize that fact at once. You brazenly committed murder before our very eyes, Mr. Corcoran, hoping to appear as an innocent victim of another's plot.
Your theory is an ingenious one, Mr. Holmes, but how can you prove it? I can claim that my hands are unusually insensitive, not the delicate fingers of a doctor like your friend.
Yes, he's right, sir. How can you prove it?
When, with your kind cooperation, Sergeant, we find the body of Mr. Hankin and examine it, I shall study his boots. If the grease was applied at the hotel, as it would have been if Sean O'Flaherty had done it, the boots will reveal dust from the walk here. If there is no dust, the grease must have been applied as you grasped your partner's boots with grease-smeared hands, Mr. Corcoran. You should know best what my tests will
Grab
reveal.
him, Sergeant. Grab him.
Come back here. Oh, Michael, don't. Please don't.
Goodbye, Molly, me darling.
No!
Great Scotty. He jumped off the parapet.
Now, Mr. Holmes, you can see that I was right, sir. Wasn't I?
What do you mean, Sergeant?
In waiting until tomorrow to get the search party. Now we can be after finding both bodies at the one time.
Well, Doctor, that was really an unusual story.
Even now I get a bit of a shudder when I think of that afternoon at the castle.
I don't blame you. Doctor, you know something? Earlier this evening I said that if I ever got to Ireland, I'd certainly want to kiss the Blarney stone, remember?
Yeah?
Well, I've changed my mind. I'd no more want to hang by my heels to kiss that stone than... Well, just let's forget it.
But, my boy, don't forget, if you kiss that stone, you get the gift of eloquence. You'd be the most convincing fellow in the world.
So?
So, well, whenever you talked about Petri wine, you'd really do people a favor because they wouldn't be able to resist trying it.
Oh, talking about Petri wine isn't important, Doctor. The best way to determine just how good Petri wine really is to taste it. One sip and there's all the proof you need. That's because the Petri family has developed the art of winemaking to a truly fine point. They've been making wine for generations. And all of the things the Petri family knows about turning luscious, sun-ripened grapes into fragrant, delicious wine have been handed on down in the family from father to son, from father to son. That's why whenever you want a swell wine, for any occasion, you can't go wrong with a Petri wine. Because Petri took time to bring you good wine. Well, Dr. Watson, what new Sherlock Holmes story are you planning to tell us next week?
Well, now, let me see. Next week, Mr. Bartell, I'm going to tell you a story in which that arch-criminal Professor Moriarty played a most important part. It deals with the theft of a famous painting, of a strange night that Sherlock Holmes and I spent trapped in the interior of a giant metal vault, and of mysterious bloodstains in an empty room.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure was written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in this Arthur Conan Doyle story, A Case of Identity. Music is by Dean Fossler. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studios. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petri family. For a solid hour of exciting mystery dramas, listen every Monday on most of these same stations at 8 o'clock to Bulldog Drummond, followed immediately by Sherlock Holmes. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Oh, sure and begorra, that was a very interesting episode of Sherlock Holmes. There was kind of a letdown on the dialect coaching. I don't know if I've heard worse Irish accents, but other than that, it was a solid story. A lot of fun with Rathbone and Bruce. We turn now to listener comments and feedback. We got quite a few. Chris emails in. Adam, I'm a little behind the podcast, and I just finished listening to the submarine caves from Sherlock Holmes. I cannot find any island of Garth. Is this a real island, or was there another name for it? I'd just like to have a frame of reference for location. Well, I looked into it, Chris, and I found basically... from what I can find, and if there's a geographer in the house, you can correct me, there is not a channel island named Garth, as far as I know. There were, and there are channel islands that lie in the British Channel between England and France. But the existence of this specific island with the pound of butter, now I think that was just made up for the story. And sometimes they'll do that with foreign lands, just in case the current the place that they're writing about, just in case they want to do something that nothing even close to it happened in history. But it's kind of understandable to wonder, because on Sherlock Holmes, they just did so many real places, real ceremonies. But I think they wanted to kind of be clear not to have people get miss about an actual Channel Island, so they made up a fictional one. Mark comments, have you considered Walk Softly, Peter Troy? I found it on one of the OTR download sites. It was made in South Africa and aired in England. Don't know whether it aired in the States, but having listened to it seems to fit well with the other shows on your list. Well, thanks a lot for the suggestion. As best I've been able to determine, Walk Softly, Peter Troy was made in Australia first. There's quite a few Australian episodes in circulation, and South African. I have found that some of the recordings out there list themselves with an Armed Forces radio service circulation. I probably won't do it. It's kind of late overall. And then there's that foreign origination of the show because of some of the copyright laws and treaties. Kind of makes me nervous. I think we probably have enough American shows to go for 15 years. But if things change in terms of the copyright laws and some court rulings in the U.S., we'll definitely take a look at other options then. Well, we now have a voicemail comment. We'll go ahead and play that for you, and then we'll respond.
Yeah, hi, Adam. Bruce Pruitt here, calling from the Motherlode country in California. Regarding the great detectives of old-time radio, enjoyed the podcasts. I started listening to some towards some of the latter ones, and then I realized I should probably go back to the beginning and listen to them. I have them on my iPod, and I listen to them while I'm doing a lot of work around my small ranch here in the Motherlode country. A couple things I want to bring up real quick. One is that listening to Pat Novak for Hire, you state that it is originally done at KFO in San Francisco. There never was a KFO radio station in San Francisco. You're close. It was KGO, who actually started out, I believe, in Oakland back in the 40s, but are a San Francisco institution these days. So that's one. The other is that you had one of your podcasts a few months ago, you said you heard a voice on there that sounded familiar and you just couldn't place it. Well, I placed it immediately in my mind, and that was the voice of Fred Flintstone. Alan Reed, is that right? Was the person. So anyway, keep it up, and this brings back a lot of memories living overseas and listening to these shows on the Armed Forces radio service. So this is great for me. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the comment, Bruce. Yeah, I kind of caught that I'd made a mistake on that station designation, but I didn't go back to correcting audio. But thanks for mentioning that, and thank you so much for listening out there in the Motherlode country. Then we have this comment from Richard. Adam, although I'd listened to the old radio programs in the past, your podcasts have hooked me. I found Dragnet and caught up with your schedule. About the time I caught up, I discovered Great Detectives. I'm almost caught up again. I listened to a few other podcasts, but I missed the commentary. I find I have questions about the programs, and Adam Graham isn't there to answer them. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you. And finally, we have this comment from Podcast Alley. Adam does a great job with this podcast. Well, thank you so much for your comments. Also want to welcome James on as a new member of the premium site, and thank him so much for a nice tip for the show. And you can become on our premium site, and you get access to bonus shows with our actors in different roles, and also getting to see some of the shows that I've decided to do in the future, get to actually listen to them Just go to greatdetectives.net, click the PayPal link, and give a tip of $7 or more. But thank you so much for your support, your comments. Again, so much appreciated, and they're so encouraging here. Well, we made it to our 250th episode here on the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. Actually, coming up on Tuesday is the first anniversary of our pilot podcast, where we went ahead and published call Northside 777. 1 year of the show and my 30th birthday on the same day, so pretty good. Before we do get into today's show, I do want to briefly let you know about Johnny Dollar Air. Most of us don't have an action-packed expense account that'll cover all of our expenses, so it's important to get the best deal on airlines. And all your travel needs, whether it's hotels or rental cars. That's why I recommend Johnny Dollar Air. Go to johnnydollarair.com, which is Priceline, and you're able to either choose from a wide variety of different published fares and specials, or to use Priceline to directly negotiate to name your own price. Either way, you get great flexibility. So remember, as you make your travel plans for the holidays coming up, remember JohnnyDollarAir.com first. Now let's get into today's episode, The Calgary Matter.
Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum, the refreshing, delicious treat that gives you chewing enjoyment, presents for your listening enjoyment Edmund O'Brien as
Johnny Dollar.
Are you the insurance detective?
That's right. Who's this?
Johnny Doe for now. Do you want to crack the Calgary job?
What?
Calgary Products down in Camden. 300,000 payroll robbery on the first of the month.
This isn't my kind of a gag. Try it on somebody else,
Wait a minute. This is no gag. Check the Alliance Bonding Company in New York. They've kept it out of the papers. If you're interested, be at this same phone tomorrow night at 10. I'll call you.
The makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum bring you Edmund O'Brien in another adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Here's a taste treat you can enjoy indoors, outdoors, at work, or at play. The cool, long-lasting mint flavor refreshes you. The smooth, steady chewing helps keep you fresh and alert. Adds enjoyment to whatever you're doing. Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Healthful, refreshing, delicious.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Alliance Bonding Company, New York City, New York. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during investigation of the Calgary matter. Expense account item 1, $10.50 transportation from my Hartford apartment to Alliance's Manhattan office.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello. I think Mr. Matthews is expecting me. The name is Dollar?
Oh, yes, Mr. Dollar. That door. Just go right in.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, Al. That'll be fine. The first bout starts at 8, but we don't care if we miss that. All right, I'll see you then. Sorry, but you can't hurry a son, you know.
That's all right. I'm Johnny Dollar, Mr. Matthews.
Yes, so I thought. Sit down, won't you?
Yes, sir?
I don't want to be interrupted for the next hour, Miss Mills.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dollar, do you put any stock in that telephone call?
Oh, I haven't any idea. I don't know anything about it.
I've done a lot of thinking since you phoned me about it, and of course there's nothing for us to do except to follow it up. But I can't help wondering if this man isn't a crank of some kind.
Well, that's what I thought, too, until you bore him out by telling me there'd been a robbery that had been held from the press. Why has it been kept a secret?
Well, all concerned thought it was the best idea.
There's a possibility that the group involved is the same one that carried off the Brink robbery. But any publicity would only give away our hunch that the same gang pulled both jobs.
What makes you think the Brink crowd might have pulled this one?
Because of the way it was executed. Simple perfection. The knowledge the criminals had of our operations. You see, one of our armored cars was to deliver a cash deposit to the Barton Bank in Camden to cover the Calgary Products payroll. The truck simply didn't arrive. It was found later, wrecked and empty.
The driver and the guards?
They were found 3 miles away, bound and gagged. Their descriptions matched those at Brink's, the masks and so on. Yes, it was perfection. They knew exactly when and where.
What do you want me to do?
I've talked it over with the rest of the Alliance executives. We want you to follow that call through, but we must insist that you make every effort to maintain the security we have established. Here are the details.
Expense account item 2, same as item 1, transportation back to Hartford. At 9:45 that night, I was in my apartment waiting for the promised call from John Doe. At 10:05, my phone rang. Johnny Dollar.
Stanley, 3469.
Yes?
1 moment, please. Philadelphia's calling.
Philadelphia.
Your call to Hartford is ready. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Dollar,
Yeah?
what did you decide about the Calgary job?
Well, what happened to the man I talked with last night?
He didn't dare phone you tonight. He was afraid you'd be set up with the police to trace the call.
I haven't talked to the police.
Don't. If you do, it's all off. He doesn't want to be arrested. He wants to surrender to the New Jersey District Attorney's men.
The guy I talked with last night?
No, he wasn't involved with Calgary. It was a friend of his. You want to talk it over with him?
Where?
There's a room reserved in the name of Charles Randall at the Brantford Hotel in Bridgeport. Check into it between 7 and 8 tomorrow night. Sign the register, Charles Randall, 7458 Walnut Drive, Boston.
Look, why doesn't he just take my address and come over here?
He can't.
Why not?
Brantford Hotel, Bridgeport. If you're interested, be there.
Expense account item 3, $5, mileage to Bridgeport and the Brantford Hotel. It was a weathered frame building in the harbor district. I felt conspicuous walking across the lobby to the desk because I was the only man in sight who was wearing a tie. I wondered, since I was so out of place, why that address had been picked for a meeting that I assumed was not supposed to attract attention. My room was in the rear on the ground floor. I'd no more than opened a single window to air the room of the traces left by its previous tenant when I was signaled to the door.
Dollar?
Yeah.
Let me come in. You got a driver's license or something?
Better than that. A private operative's license. Here you are.
Thanks. I recognized your voice, but I thought I'd better make sure. Come on, we're going someplace else.
Why?
Because I'm not sure you weren't followed here. But I'll be sure we aren't going to be followed where we're going.
I don't like it.
It must be this way. You've got to believe me. He has to be careful. He doesn't want to get killed.
What's the matter? The gang busting up?
Come on.
What started the trouble? Splitting the loot?
Dollar, don't bother with me. I can't tell you anything, because I don't know anything. Believe me, I'm only doing this to help him out. You don't have to come if you don't want to.
Where do we go?
You won't be coming back here. Don't leave anything but the keys to your car. Somebody will drive it out.
Do you know where I parked it?
It's the green coupe, isn't it?
Yeah.
He knows. Not through the lobby. There's a rear door. My car is parked just outside.
We drove without speaking, crisscrossing town and backtracking until he was satisfied there were no followers, and then out of town in roughly an easterly direction, following the shore of Long Island Sound. I clocked 3 4/10 miles on the speedometer, starting at the city limits. Then he switched off the lights and turned right into a pair of ruts. Finally, we bounced to a stop in front of a cabin near the water.
Watch your step. There are a couple of roots in the path.
Did he come?
He's here.
Good. You wait in the car, will you? I don't think it'll take long.
The first thing that impressed me as I walked past her into the single room was her youth. She didn't look much over 20. In spite of rather nondescript short brown hair and a band of freckles across an Irish nose, she was attractive. She was very small, and her violet eyes were very frightened.
I'm glad you've come.
Where's the man I've come after?
He left. He decided at the last minute that it would be better if he didn't meet you tonight.
Look, I've had enough. I don't play this way. I don't like to be made a fool of.
But you aren't. Please be patient with us.
I've been patient, and all I've gotten for it is some vague phone calls, pointless instructions, and a meeting in a crummy hotel that's right out of Dime Detective. I've had enough.
Please help us.
How can I help you when you don't give me anything? I don't know anything. And how can I help somebody who runs away? As far as I know, he doesn't even exist.
I'll show you. Open it. Here's share of the Calgary money, Jim. You can take the wrappers off.
I can take this with me?
Yes.
I don't get it.
Does it matter? He wants to give himself up.
Why this way?
I told you on the phone. He doesn't want to be arrested in this state. He wants to go directly to the district attorney's office in New Jersey where the robbery was committed.
He'll turn state's witness?
Yes. But he has a demand. Promise of immunity.
It won't work. Any promise like that destroys the value of testimony. Might even bar it from the trial.
It's been done.
It's never promised. You'll have to take his chances on that.
It doesn't have to be public. You can try, can't you?
Sure, I can try it, but I won't get it. Anything else?
Yes. He wants to be placed in protective custody until after the trial.
How many other men were in on the job?
He wouldn't tell me. I can't tell you anymore. Will you go to New Jersey?
I'll have to have 2 days. I may not be able to see anybody tomorrow.
All right. You'll call your Hartford number both nights at 10. You'll have to go now. Please do your best.
Don't be ridiculous, Dollar. That's one of the most impertinent requests I've heard since I took office.
Nothing personal, Mr. Kreider. I was asked to make it, and I did. Well, would you see that he's placed under protective custody until after the trial?
Why should I grant this criminal any favors?
Well, if it means breaking the Calgary matter, it seems to me a favor or two would be worthwhile.
We'll break it in due time. You know where he is?
No, but I've been close. I may be able to bring him in if I can get you a word on a few of these things.
Yeah, we'll see. Do you mind telling us where you've been operating?
Now, you know I can't tell you that. These people are my clients now, more or less. I have to keep their confidences. Now, what's your answer?
Answer? Definitely no immunity.
Protective custody?
All right. Yes, we'll assign a couple of men to guard him.
Okay, Mr. Kreider. I'll see what I can do with that. You'll hear from me in a day or so. Expense account items 4 and 5, $40 travel from New Haven to Trenton, New Jersey, and from Trenton back to Hartford. I reached home too late for the phone call that first night, but it came the next, promptly at 10, from Boston this time.
What happened, Dollar? How did you make out?
No worse than I expected to. Protection, but no immunity.
Oh, that's not so good.
They weren't too happy with the situation. I think because they want to make an arrest themselves.
Were you followed?
Yeah, 2 men. They're watching my building now. But I can lose them if you still want to negotiate.
Can you come to Boston?
Tonight?
Yes, if you're sure you can shake the New Jersey men.
Where do we meet?
You're sure your line isn't tapped?
They haven't had time, but they will if you don't quit stalling.
Drive up through Springfield and Worcester. Just outside Boston, you'll pass through Auburndale. On the other side of it, there are 2 bridges. After you've crossed the second one, pull off the road and wait.
All right, I'll be there. Well, let me tell you something. This is the last trip. Get your man off the dime. I can't spend the summer touring New England. I slipped out of Hartford, found the second bridge beyond Auburndale, pulled off the road, and sat there, listening to the night. I sat there for an hour before anything happened.
My name is Gannett, Mr. Dollar.
Oh? Are you the one?
Yes, I'm the one.
Get in.
Thank you.
Well, you caused quite a stir, Gannett.
Yes, so I understand. I've heard that crime pays only those who write about it and those who investigate.
Are you armed?
No, but satisfy yourself.
The DA in Trenton?
Then, by all means, the DA and friends will be at the cottage by the sound side after you have delivered me.
It wasn't a silent trip, but the subject of our scattered conversation was always far removed from the Calgary matter. Gannett's only typically criminal attitude was one of fear. He was never satisfied that we weren't being followed. We weren't. I learned that at 9:30 the next morning when we pulled up in front of the State Building in Trenton. We hadn't been followed. They were waiting for him.
Al, no, don't.
Someone in the crowd, it was impossible to know who, shot Gannett to death and disappeared in the confusion. It was sudden and unexpected. More unexpected, I think, than learning after police identification that Gannett, admitted criminal, was also Arnold Gannett, LL.D., professor of law at Russell University, New Haven, Connecticut.
To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. The lively, full-bodied, real mint flavor cools your mouth, moistens your throat, freshens your taste. And the chewing itself gives you a little lift, helps you keep going at your best. So for real chewing enjoyment that's refreshing and long-lasting, always keep Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. Healthful, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Gum will make every day more enjoyable. And now, with our star, Edmund O'Brien, we return you to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
A lot of answers died with Professor Arnold Gannett on the sidewalk in front of New Jersey State Building, but one had been born at the same time. They answered why the police of 6 states had made no progress in the Calgary case. They'd been following usual procedures, carrying out their investigations in criminal circles. There was nothing for me in Trenton except the possibility of a session of questioning by the district attorney's men, so I faded out of sight and started back towards the cottage on Long Island Sound.
Hello?
Hi.
Did it go all right?
No, it didn't. It blew up. Somebody was waiting for us in Trenton. He killed Gannett as he got out of the car.
I thought we were careful enough.
You were careful here and in Boston, but nobody was following you. They knew where he was going and waited for him. How did they find out?
I don't know. He never told me anything about it.
Where's the girl?
She's asleep. She stayed awake all night. I don't know what this is going to do to her. She's his wife.
She'll have to know.
You're right. It'll be in the papers tomorrow, won't it? She was going back to New Haven in the morning. But I can't do it. I don't want to go in.
I think you'd better. I don't know who you are, and so I don't want to lose track of you. Come on in with me.
Very well.
Mrs. Gannett? Mrs. Gannett?
Oh. What is it? There's been trouble.
Yes, there has.
Where's Arnold?
He's dead, Mrs. Gannett.
No?
He was killed before he could surrender. I want you to tell me who did it.
I don't know. I don't know.
I gave her an hour to get hold of herself. During that time, I learned that the other man at the cottage was Earl Becker of Bridgeport and a gardener at Arnold Gannett School. Enclosed, please find a copy of his statement.
I had known Arnold Gannett since he was a student at Russell University. We got to be good friends when we started to fish the Sound together. We didn't have anything else in common. That sort of thing draws men together. I didn't know anything about the robbery until he told me he was in on it. That's all he told me. Then he asked me to help him surrender. I said I would.
When I returned to the cottage, Mrs. Gannett was dry-eyed.
Mr. Dollar, I appreciate what you've done. You tried to help us, and I know that you're not to blame for anything.
Oh, there's no way to stop it.
It's all finished now. Now I want you to go back to Hartford.
Oh, it's not as simple as that. I've put myself out on a limb with the New Jersey District Attorney. I won't get off it until this is cleared up. Are you telling me the truth when you say you don't know who your husband was teamed up with?
I don't know. He wouldn't tell me. He said it was safer if I didn't know.
What did he tell you?
Nothing until after it was all over. 2 weeks after. And I knew he was awake at night because something was troubling him. He couldn't lie to me.
Your husband was a brilliant man, a doctor of letters. How did he get mixed up in this thing?
On Tuesdays he taught criminal psychology. Before the end of the semester, there was a lot of discussion on the Brink robbery in Boston. And he thought he had the best theory of all.
That the men who robbed Brinks had never been criminals before?
Yes. And were able to come back to their respectable lives and hide in them.
Did he offer that theory to his classes?
No. That's what started it. He couldn't get it out of his mind.
He told you this?
Not until afterwards. It grew into a challenge that he had to do something about. So he did it. And was successful. When he told me, I made him promise to give himself up. I made him do it.
I'm sorry I have to keep after you, but there are things I have to know. These classes of his, how many students?
It was a large enrollment this year. There were hundreds.
Did your husband ever mention a man named Al?
Oh, there were so many. I can't remember.
Well, he must have kept records. Where can I find a list of his students?
At our house in New Haven.
Well, then we'll have to go there. I'll be outside. Please let me know as soon as you feel able to leave. By now, the time element had become important. I knew that before long, the police would be swarming into Gannett's house and make my search impossible. I also knew I'd be dragged back to New Jersey for questioning. On the way into town, I tried to get some more information from Mrs. Gannett, but no luck. She apparently knew nothing of her husband's actions. It was 6 p.m. when she opened the door of Professor Gannett's office. Across one wall stretched a row of file cabinets, his records and lists of students. I never knew how many men's names start with the letters A and L. In an hour, Becker and I gathered from the 1949 and 50 enrollments some 100 names from Allen to Alvin.
There aren't any more here. What do you do with a list like this? They live all over the country. Here's one from Arizona, Nebraska, Florida.
I don't think we'll have to bother with them.
You're dropping it?
No. I think I found it.
Which one?
Hey, that car. Check the window, will you? See if it's police.
Yes, it is.
I can't talk to them now. Show me the back way out of here, will you?
This leads to the hall. What shall we tell them?
Well, don't lie yourself into a trap. Tell them I just left. You don't know where I was going. Have you read the papers, Mr. Matthews?
Professor Gannett? Yes, it's hard to believe.
You knew him?
Yes, I'd met him.
I'm awfully sorry about this. But now you know how the robbery was carried off with such perfection, don't you?
What do you mean?
You mentioned it yourself. They knew exactly where the armored truck would be and when. Your son Albert was a student of Professor Gannett.
What are you intimating? Well, there are thousands of students at Russell.
I don't know of any other who has connections with the company that was robbed.
I won't stand for
The
this.
crime was committed because of a fixation Professor Gannett had about the Brink robbery. He felt he had to prove that respectable people could commit a crime and get away with it. He did it. But he couldn't have without knowing where your truck was going and approximately when it left New York. Where is your son?
Strangely enough, this possibility had crossed my mind, too, but I just can't believe
Where
it.
is he?
He's in his room, packing for a canoe trip up in Vermont.
Which one is his room?
I'll show you. Come on, it's upstairs. Your suspicions are very strong, aren't they?
Yes, they are, Mr. Matthews.
What have you learned about my son?
That his name is Albert.
Then there is no proof.
I don't know. I want to find out.
But he would have no reason to do anything like this. I have always given him everything he wanted. But he's a brilliant boy, much too intelligent. Here's his room. Al,
Yes, Dad? What is it?
may we come in?
I was just finishing... Oh, I'm sorry.
Al, this is Mr. Dollar.
I'm the investigator working on the Calgary matter.
Oh? Well, excuse the room. My stuff's all over the place. I'm going up north.
Where were you this morning at 9 o'clock?
Why, What is this?
Where were you?
I don't see that it makes any difference.
It does. Because I was with Professor Arnold Gannett at 9 o'clock. Before he was killed, he called to somebody named Al.
What does he mean, Dad? I don't understand.
Mind if I look over your room?
For what?
For a gun. A .38 from the sound of it. The police will be able to check the slugs that killed Gannett.
Dad.
Yes, Albert?
Dad, I did it. I don't know why. I don't... What'll I do?
I don't know.
Dad, it wasn't supposed to end like this. Dad.
I can't help you now, son.
All right. All right, then I'll get away.
No, you don't. It's no use.
Get away. Get away from me. Oh.
I'm sorry, Mr. Matthews.
Yes, Mr. Dollar. I'm sorry, too.
Albert Matthews' statement, by the time he had finished, involved two other law students. They, too, were from families that should have not included criminals. And I wonder if Professor Gannett's unsuccessful experiment doesn't mean that the Brink robbery, $2 million, wasn't committed by persons now hiding behind respectable lies. Expense account total, $1,180. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Remember, friends, to make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to refreshing, delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. There's lots of cooling, real mint flavor in every stick. And chewing Wrigley's Spearmint helps keep you feeling fresh and alert. You feel better, work better, get more fun out of doing things. So indoors, outdoors, wherever you go, keep some healthful, refreshing Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. To make every day more enjoyable, treat yourself often to delicious Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, brought to you by Wrigley's Spearmint Gum, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role, and is written by Gil Dowd and David Ellis, with music composed and conducted by Leith Stevens. Edmund O'Brien can soon be seen starring in the Columbia Pictures production 711 Ocean Drive. Featured in tonight's cast were Ted Osborne, Florence Lake, Bill Boucher, Virginia Gregg, John Daner, and Terry Kilburn. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Jaime Del Valle. The makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum Hope you've enjoyed tonight's story of Johnny Dollar and that you're enjoying delicious Wrigley Spearmint Chewing Gum every day. We invite you to join us again next week at the same time when, from Hollywood, Edmund O'Brien returns in another adventure of
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Bob Stevenson speaking. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, this was actually, I thought, a very good puzzle, because I have to admit I was probably more intrigued by this particular episode than I have any of the shows for the past few weeks. This was really good because there was so much that I didn't know that Johnny Dollar had to go and find out. Who was this man? Who were the people phoning? So many questions. It's rare for Johnny Dollar to have this many unknowns. Usually the suspects are known, and it's just a matter of finding the clues as to who did it. So this was a nice change of pace. I do have to admit it took a lot of nerve for that law professor to imagine himself getting immunity with what Johnny explained about why prosecutors will rarely promise immunity. And particularly since he's the law professor, that he's going to go ahead and he wanted to leave his students to hang out to dry. So another great Johnny Dollar in the books. Got a comment here from Tiger, who writes in, love the show. I'm addicted to the Johnny Dollar, but I love the classic adventures of the old Nero Wolfschuls and would love to hear those too. Roy comments regarding yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Love all your great detectives podcasts. Keep them coming. Listening to them all on my commute to work. Love the movie DOA, an underrated classic, much better than the remake that came out years ago with Dennis Quaid, I believe. Well, it was Dennis Quaid. I've not actually seen that one for myself. The users over at IMDb, the average rating for the Dennis Quaid version is 5.9 from 1988. The rating for the Edmund O'Brien version is 7.4. And pretty much I am loath to remember a remake that has been near as good as the original. Particularly by folks who have seen the original will see the remake, and comparing the two, always the original ends up coming up wanting. We do have a review on iTunes from Tap to Play concerned with the app. Hey, right, I am not very impressed with your app. I like your podcast, Adam, and here's the following grievances. First of all, it cost $1.99. Second, it's not up to date, like it will show such and such, but then you go to iTunes, you see there is more episodes, but it doesn't show up on the app. Third, there's not that much bonus content for a whole 2 weeks. At least it's the same bonus content. Well, that's all, Sam. All right, well, thanks so much, Sam. Addressing these in order, $1.99 is the least that we're able to offer that for through Wizard, and considering that it's a continual app, one price for life, not too bad, particularly as we continue to plan to keep it up as long as we can. Second point, we're definitely continuing to work on making sure the app episodes show up and auto sync like they should. The big thing, though, to consider is I don't see the main purpose of the app as just being able to listen to the latest show if you've already got the podcast. It's a much easier way to organize your past favorites. Now, as to bonus content, you have access to all the bonus content that we've done. You go through the archives. We've marked those episodes with bonus content with an asterisk. The area, though, that you're going to, it sounds like on the main episode list, there is a button that says Extras. and I just uploaded an audio file, an episode of Philip Marlowe, just kind of to have something there. But it occurred to me on reading your comments that it might be a good idea, particularly on Great Detectives, because we have so many shows, so you can easily access the latest hosted extra without being able to dig for it. Continue to do one hosted extra a month, looking at one of our stars in another role outside of the world of detective radio. While I would definitely like to be able to do more than one of these extras per month, we're just constrained by time. We've got 2 apps, 3 different podcasts amounting to 32 separate podcast episodes per month, extras on 2 shows, 1 episode of Dragnet, and 1 video theater episode per month. So it's hard to be able to do much more than that. If you do have the app, you also have the ability to listen to my commentary on any video theater episode. That's right at the top when you go in to play the video. That's the extras menu within the particular episode. But from now on, from the main menu, where all the files are listed, you'll be able to listen to the latest audio extra. Though we're going to be just a little bit behind because we added this in the middle. On Tuesday, we will go ahead and post our latest episode, our latest extra, which was in Tuesday's show. Jeff Regan star Frank Graham as all the characters in the Nightcap yarns. I want to give people who are listening to this and who have the app a chance to listen to and download our Alan Ladd special directly off this list from that main menu button, because that was one of the best specials we had. So thanks so much for the comments. Hope I was able to address that satisfactorily. Before we get started, I do want to let you know a little bit about the Roku. I requested the Roku as a Christmas present so that I could better enjoy the Netflix streaming videos through my wireless connection. Well, since I've gotten the Roku, it's gotten even better, with a wide variety of different channels that you can try out for free. There's the Newscaster channel. Also, one of my favorites, of course, is the Blueberry channel and the Mediafly channel, where you can listen to this podcast as well as the Old Time Dragnet show and the Old Time Radio Daily Westerns. So you can make your television into a radio. There's also a lot of great channels with pictures, videos, and music. The Roku has never been a better deal. Available now, starting at just around $60. Go to greatdetectives.net and click on the Roku banner. Well, for our 250th episode special, I'm bringing you something I think is truly special. It's San Francisco Final. I heard this show several months back, and the moment I heard it, I thought to myself, I've got to bring this to the audience as a special. I think they'll really enjoy it. I know many of you started listening to the Great Detectives through the Old Time Dragnet podcast. This particular show has a lot in common with Dragnet in terms of its tone. The star of the show is Jeff Chandler. And those of you who are detective fans will remember Jeff Chandler from his role as Michael Shayne in the widely syndicated New Adventures of Michael Shayne. This is kind of a Dragnet for newspapers. It's a very unique, well-done series. Incredible cast and writing, music, just a wonderful production all around. The show is dated from 1954, and I listened to Jim Widner, and Widner says that it never actually made it to air. And the only reason I can think of that it didn't, the big reason, was that it was July of 1954. It was hard for anything to make it in radio. Television had passed radio in profitability 3 years before. But this is an incredible story, an incredible show. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Jeff Chandler in San Francisco Final.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is San Francisco Final. This is the story of a newspaper. This is the story of the daily record of a city, of people and events and a search for truth. From the pages of the San Francisco Chronicle, a true story reported by Mike Rivera.
It has a latitude and a longitude, but the names can tell you better. The Gulf of the Farallones washes against it westerly, and north there's a Golden Gate. East, too, there's ocean water, called a bay now, so that San Francisco itself is the tip of the peninsula. And there's a part of it that centers on Grant Avenue and houses the largest Chinese community outside of China. City within a city. Not very many months ago, a story started here. A story that exploded all over the world. The fog tumbles over Twin Peaks from the ocean before it rolls up Mission Street. When it touches Fifth, any Chronicle reporter working cityside can look out of the window and see the edge of town turn gray. The way it did early Wednesday afternoon when I was working rewrite. I had on the headphones and was taking notes. Hank Peters on the Chronicle police beat was calling from the press room at the Hall of Justice.
They brought in this Chinese fella 10 minutes ago. He beat up on his own brother.
Hurt bad?
He's in emergency hospital right now, unconscious. Doc Bauer says he's in pretty bad shape. Possible skull fracture. Definite concussion.
What were they fighting about?
I don't know. All I checked out so far is they got in a fight, corner of Waverly and Washington. The boy knocked his brother down. The brother cracked his head against a fire hydrant.
Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I got it. How about some names?
Boy in jail is Johnny Shen. That's S-H-E-N. 23 years old. Brother's name is Lee. Doc says maybe a year or two younger. That's about it.
Chinese fighting in public. Never knew that to happen before.
Me neither, Mike. In 20 years. They always keep their trouble to themselves.
Yeah. You got an address?
Yeah, both boys live at 6012 Clay.
6012. Thanks, Hank.
Right.
Thelma, give me the clips on a John Shen or Lee.
Just a minute. What do you want, Mike?
Clips on John Shen or Lee Shen. S-H-E-N, if you have any.
You're right. John Shen?
And Lee.
Well, I got one for both brothers. Same story, Mike. One clip for each.
Yeah, let's take a look. Sign me out for these, will you?
Yeah, sure.
Landfield's top of the eight. I might want to go 5 takes on it. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Ittle go a column on.
Yeah, anyway, I'll see how it goes. Hi, Mike.
All right. You got a minute, Abe?
Yeah, sure.
What Hank just gave me. Maybe I better read you something first.
Okay.
Dated March 3, 1953. The head reads, Brother saves brother in Chinatown fire. Early this morning, John Shen saved his brother from suffocation when a two-alarm fire raged in a tenement at 6012 Clay Street. Shen, age 22.
City desk, Melancock. Run it down for me, Charlie. Sausalito? Okay. Benag 430 for the first. Johnny Shen, age 22.
Shen braved the smoke to enter the back room of the third floor and carried his brother Lee to safety. Lee, 2 years younger than his brother, had been overcome by the smoke, but was recovering at Chinese hospital. Cause of the fire was undetermined. Saved his brother's life, Ed.
Well?
A little while ago, he almost killed him in a fist fight on a sidewalk down in Chinatown.
What'd they fight about?
Hank said he didn't know.
You know, when I covered stories in Chinatown, I never knew them to bring trouble out where people could watch.
Yeah, that's the point I want to make.
Good point.
I'll go talk to Johnny.
All right.
Can Art handle those 2 stories I have hanging Lee right?
Yeah. You say Johnny almost killed his brother?
That's right.
When you write it, try a new approach on it. It's been covered before.
What do you mean?
Genesis, chapter 4, verse 8. Cain and Abel.
I took the elevator down to the street floor, stopped at the cigarette stand in the lobby, then walked out into the fog. I grabbed a cab and took the 10-minute ride up Stockton Street to Washington and down to Kearny to the Hall of Justice. At the end of the second-floor corridor is a room marked Chinatown detail. I went in. Sergeant Lou Morrissey was at his desk. I told him I wanted to talk to the Shen boy.
McKelvey will bring him right down.
Thanks. You heard anything more on his brother?
Doc says critical.
Why'd they fight?
Who knows?
Did you talk to him?
I brought him in. He hasn't done anything but sneer since I picked him up.
Has he got any record?
No, he's got a job. His boss says he's a fine boy. Show you something, though. Here. Here's the sheet on him. Look. Right here.
$2,000.
Mm-hmm. 2 $1,000 bills. I didn't find them when I shook him down. They were taped to his body when they took him to the shower room.
Where'd he get all that money?
Bank of America in Chinatown.
Did he tell you he did?
After a while, yeah. After we told him we'd throw a robbery charge at him on top of everything else. He said Bank of America and which branch. It checked out. John and Lee Shen, joint account. Up to last Monday, $2,016.23. Now, $16.23. Ask him about it and you get a stare. Oh, thanks, McKelvey. Sit down, Johnny, over there. Mr. Rivera here's a reporter from the Chronicle.
Hello, Johnny. How do you feel?
Look, downstairs I told him that... Look, I've got nothing to say to you. Don't have to tell you a thing.
That's right.
So tell the sergeant we're all finished.
Well, just one thing. I read something about you before I came up here.
What?
About the fire, how you saved your brother's life. It's a brave thing to do.
You think so?
No, on account of you, he might die. You're in a lot of trouble, Johnny.
Go write about it.
All right, what do you want me to say?
What are you talking about?
All right, 2 ways I can write it. I can say you're a thief, you were taking off with your brother's money.
What other way would you write about it?
I could start from the beginning.
Like what?
Your story and your brother's. You live on Clay Street, don't you?
Yeah.
How long have you lived there?
As long as we've lived in San Francisco.
How long's that?
22 years. I was born in Beiping, China. Came here when I was a year old.
And your brother was born in this country?
Uh-huh.
Just a wild guess, Johnny. This fight, this hassle you had with Lee. Anything political about it?
Political?
Yeah, you know, Red China, nationalist.
No.
Where'd you go to school?
Chinatown.
Nam-Q school?
Lee did, not me. Just plain public school.
Tell me about the 2 $1,000 bills.
I drew them out of the bank.
Why in $1,000 bills?
Easy to carry, not bulky. Look.
Yeah?
Get me out of here. I want to go back to my cell.
Okay, Johnny, let's go.
Why all of a sudden, Johnny? We were getting along fine.
Get me out of here, Sergeant.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe I can help. Maybe... Johnny, if your brother dies, you might be charged with murder.
I want to go back to my cell.
Mike? Now, you just want me to write it any way I want to. Is that right, Johnny?
Any way you want.
Kelly. Take him upstairs. Well, not much of a story, huh, Mike?
Grief's always a story. Thanks a lot, Lou. Hi, this is Mike. Give me the city desk, will you? Abe, Mike, on that Chinese story. Johnny Shen had 2 $1,000 bills taped to his body. No, that's right. When they stripped him for a shower. No, Johnny drew it out of a joint bank account they had. I don't know, maybe... Well, hold on a minute, will you? Yeah, Lou?
Lucky you didn't call from outside, or I'd have missed you.
Well, what's up?
Just had a call from emergency hospital. Lee Shen's dead.
Now it's murder, huh?
Now it's suicide.
He told me Lee Shen had leaped from his hospital room window and killed himself. I gave it to Art Hoppy on rewrite. I told him I was going to check out the boy's family. It was a short walk from the Hall of Justice to the tenement at 6012 Clay Street. The Shen apartment was on the 3rd floor, second door of a corridor where last year's fire had been charred into its walls and still showed.
Yes?
I'm Mike Rivera from the Chronicle.
Yes?
This is where Johnny and Lee Shen...
Yes.
I'd like to talk with you about them.
Come in, please. This is my mother, Mr. Rivera.
Good evening.
Washington. My mother speaks only Chinese.
I see. Miss Shen,
San Man Fong si, My mother wants to know what you want. Your being here disturbs her. Earlier there were police.
I want to talk to you about your brothers. I'd like to know what...
She wants to know about the $2,000. If you have it, she wants you to give it to us.
I told you as a newspaperman, the police have...
Mama, Chanking, police.
What's the trouble?
Nothing.
But you...
I said nothing.
Well, your mother's upset about the money and...
Well?
I don't know exactly. I'm thinking out loud. If she knows about the money, she knows Johnny drew it out of the bank and...
And that now the police have it. We're not wealthy. My mother's concerned about $2,000, that's all.
At a time like this?
What do you mean?
Your brother...
They won't do anything to Johnny. It was an accident.
I'm talking about Lee.
Oh, he'll be all right.
Don't you know?
We were at the hospital about an hour ago. We looked in his ward and saw him. The doctor said he'd be all right.
What was that about?
Between my mother and me, Mr. Rivera, it doesn't concern you.
Listen, Lee is dead.
What?
Just a half hour ago, Miss Jenny jumped out of the window.
Mama. Yeah. Ali. Si Allah. Si man. Si Allah. Yeah. Leah.
Miss Chen, tell me something.
What?
Why did he kill himself?
Out of shame?
I don't understand.
Is that what you do, explore other people's shame?
All right, yes, it is. What did she say?
Listen to her. Does it need a translation?
We were talking about...
No more. I think you'd better go, Mr. Rivera. Mother, what are you doing? Take it. Take the letter, Mr. Rivera. Perhaps my mother is right. I don't know. Take it.
It's written in Chinese. How am I supposed to...
The letter came 10 days ago from China. It says my grandmother is sick. She might die unless we send $2,000. She needs medicine and surgeons. Please, get out. Go, please. Please.
She went to her mother, took her hand. They turned their backs on me and moved to a place where a candle burned against carved brass. I was an intruder. I left. I walked down the hill onto Grant Street. Fog was gone now, and the Chinatown neon lighted up the tourists and the brocade and the carved ivory. I thought about Mrs. Shen. The word she'd used was shame to explain why a son of hers had taken his own life. Then about the letter from China, then the two $1,000 bills, and Johnny Shen's defiance. But mostly the letter from China. I felt I hadn't got a story at all, but only incidents, and the story was still going on even while I was thinking about it. Next morning, I checked with Abe Melenkoff.
Now, on the Shen story we had this morning, we need a good, strong follow. It's not cleaned up by any means.
What have you got?
Here. Been waiting for you to come in to show it to you. Financial gave it to me a little while ago.
Chinatown Bank reports minor run. A period of 60 days, over $2 million.
Withdrawals from 500 to 3,000. What do you think?
I'd say Johnny Shen had company.
If you take pencil and paper, you can figure he had practically all of Chinatown for company.
How come all those people need all that money all at once?
It's a good question. I got another one.
What?
Wonder if it's happening in other Chinatowns.
I'll call down to L.A., talk to Cassell, ask him.
I'll have it put on the Times Wire, find out what's going on in New York.
Westfall's in Baltimore. He can check out Chinatown there.
I'll get a reading on Chicago and Boston and Philly. It starts with a street corner fight, and we call all over the country. If this keeps rolling, it can be quite a thing.
Already is. Her mother's been told her son's dead. November day that happens sometimes in San Francisco. Sunlit city and strands of cloud. November winds and freighters from the tropics tied up at the Embarcadero. 10 o'clock of a November day, and pick up the home edition of the Chronicle. Crease it lengthwise and consider headline first as concerns a Senate investigating committee. And then the current communique about the current war. And spliced between the two of them, the death of Li Shen. Continued on page 6. Now more legwork to be done. On Stockton Street in Chinatown, number 5143, house of the Chinese Community Service Union. Overlords of local Chinese affairs. All powerful, all discreet, all knowing. Tin Young saw me come into the office, looked at me for a minute, then beckoned me over.
I'm fairly busy, Mike. You come at not a very good time.
I want to talk to you, Mr. Young.
Not that I mind, for surely you must have a reason.
I have, Li Shen.
That's not a reason.
The way he died and why he died.
You already know that.
We wrote what his sister told me. Lee killed himself out of shame. We wrote it, but didn't understand it.
And for that you've come to the Chinese Service Union? Because you don't understand the word shame?
Because the Chinese Service Union runs Chinatown and its people and everything in it. If you want to know anything, that's where you go.
I'll state it for you, Mike, gladly. Li Shen jumped out of a window because Johnny Shen wouldn't give him grandmother money. It's a type of culture.
Then you know about the letter the Shen family got from China.
Mike.
And the run your people made on the bank here in Chinatown. You know about that, too. Why? Why are they doing it?
Mike.
Why, are there other letters from China saying somebody's grandmother is sick and please send a couple of $1,000s to make her well? Is that what's happening?
Listen to me.
Or maybe if I put it this way, blackmail. Blackmail on a scale that...
I'm trying to tell you something.
Go ahead. Give me the official statement of the Chinese Service Union. I'll listen, I'll write it.
This you will not write.
What you're saying
I'm
is...
saying this is our statement. It concerns no one.
Except the people in this community, except the boy
Except the boy who is dead because of the letter. Official statement as to you. What I've been trying to say to you. Don't make more people die.
I left. Follow-up now. I walked down to Grand Avenue to the 900 block. The Chinatown branch of the Bank of America said they'd cooperate and furnish me with a list of the people who'd made sizable withdrawals during the bank run. I started to check it out. Alka Chuen, 412 Jason Street. And be told that Mr. Chuen was away on a business trip, couldn't be reached. Then 2 doors down, Tom Shu, too busy to talk to anyone now. Next, around the corner to see Yu Ching, 108 Spofford Street, and a child on the sidewalk said no one was at home. And it went like that. It was mid-afternoon when I walked into Sam Shank's curio shop.
I can help you, mister?
I'm looking for Sam Shang.
I am Sam Shang. We're looking for some nice china bells?
No, thanks. I just want to talk to you, Mr. Shang. I'm from the Chronicle.
Oh. You want good Chinatown story? You will mention the shop of Sam Shang?
Sure I will.
Thank you. Many stories of Chinatown. Many.
Did you know Li Shen? Johnny Shen? Mr. Shang, there's something else I want to ask you. It's personal. Maybe I have no right.
I cannot know until you ask.
A couple of weeks ago, you withdrew $1,200 from the bank. A lot of other people took their savings out, too. My paper wants to know why.
You have talked with these other people?
I've tried. So far, I haven't been able to...
And you ask this personal question of Sam Shang?
Mm-hmm. But only because something's happening here that we don't understand. Why a boy killed himself after his brother beat him up. Why so many of you...
Also, you have talked with the Chinese Service Union?
Yes, I have.
And they told you... What did they tell you?
I could tell you they said for you to talk to me.
But you will tell me what they truly said.
That it was none of my concern. That Li Shen was dead because of a letter from China. That others might die.
Including you?
I got that impression.
If it is the wisdom of the Chinese Service Union...
Yeah, wisdom. Your people being bled of every dime, of every dignity, they... Thanks, Mr. Shang.
Wait.
Yeah?
I had such a letter 2 weeks ago. Such a letter as was received by Mrs. Shen, the mother of Li.
Go on.
It was from my sister. From Canton, my sister said she was very sick of a disease of the eyes. that she needed what monies I sent her $1,200.
Well, have you...
3 days ago, I have received another letter from Canton. It wrote of something I did not know.
What?
My sister has been dead for a year.
It was late afternoon when the story began to shape itself. Just about the time the first edition was being trucked down the peninsula, there was a phone call from Cassell in Los Angeles.
Maybe it's nothing at all, Mike.
What have you got?
Just yesterday's suicide. A Chinese named Ho Liang swallowed poison and died quietly in a restroom at Union Station.
Why'd he do it?
Your guess is as good as mine, but this is the first suicide down here in Chinatown in 23 years.
Well, anything on why he killed himself?
No suicide note, if that's what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a letter on him.
From China?
That's right, from Swatow, asking for $500.
Who would die unless the money was sent?
His uncle from cancer, the letter said. How'd you know about it?
We get mail here, too. Thanks a lot.
Hey.
Yeah?
What's it all about?
I don't know yet.
No, I'm not writing for the papers anymore, Mike. What's it all about?
It's about blackmail.
Blackmail all the way from China?
Not China, Red China. The next day was Wednesday, and the third item on the New York Times teletype told of a small run on the Mott Street Bank, the one most patronized by Chinatown. And later, a similar item from Chicago. Nothing from Boston, but in the afternoon there was a phone call from Baltimore. A man named John Tu Quo had robbed a supermarket of over $500, the first Chinese involved in a felony in Baltimore for over 5 years. Tu Quo gave himself up 3 hours later, but refused to say what he had done with the money. The pattern was clear. I went back to Mr. Young of the Chinese Service Union.
Tea?
No, thanks.
You won't mind if I do.
Mr. Young.
The tea isn't very good.
Listen,
No, you listen, Mike. I enjoy making comments, so indulge me. The tea isn't very good.
I'm sorry.
That's better. The pleasantries have been taken care of. Now you can talk to me.
These last 2 days...
You've been knocking on doors and asking questions and getting no answers.
Not quite.
Getting answers.
Some.
Not very good, you understand, but not bad. I can remember...
You want to hear some of the answers?
You're being rude again.
Oh, let's get off it now, Mr. Young. I'll stop bowing my head and you stop being so colorful.
It is time for that, isn't it?
I would say so.
Tell me what you know.
There was a run on the Chinatown Bank here in San Francisco. There was one in New York and Chicago.
In Boston, too?
We got no word from there.
It probably wasn't noticed. It's not a very big colony.
In Baltimore, a man named Tu Quo committed grand theft. He sent the money to China and ended his life by going to jail.
True. I've heard.
Down the street, Sam Shang got an anguished letter 2 weeks ago, supposedly from his sister in China, except she's been dead for over a year.
Also true.
And where it all started, as far as I'm concerned, the Shen family. Li killed himself because his brother wouldn't let him send money to China. He died because he believed he was forsaking his grandmother.
What do you want from us?
All over every Chinatown in the country, people are getting letters from China.
I asked you, what do you want from us?
Tell me I'm not just guessing.
About what?
Your people are being blackmailed by Red China, is that it? Communist China, Soviet China. The money you send gives the enemy comfort. You're an American, Mr. Young.
As much as you.
Then...
An American as much as you. Believe it and try to understand what I'm going to tell you. We Americans here have ties to an old country, ties of blood and tradition. Because America is what it is, the end of a search, it has roots all over the world. The roots of us here are in China.
Yes.
How does a man forsake his own? How does a man forsake his sister, his grandmother, his father? How do you turn your back on your own blood's anguish? Listen, there's a proverb. Fire burns worse when it burns your own flesh. Listen to me. They have come to us with this burden. What shall we do, they ask. We must send the money, they say, or this one will die, or that one. What shall we do, they ask. Give us time, we say to them, and we will think of something. But we must send money, they say, or there will be dying. So we tell them to send the money.
And when will it end?
Now. These papers contain names and addresses. Families here in Chinatown who have gotten letters and who have paid ransom. The blackmail is more than $2 million, Mike. This list And any help we can give you, ask it of us.
Thanks.
Now permit me a question. What will happen now?
The story will be printed, it'll be read, and the world will know about it.
How the communists hold their people hostage and demand ransom from America.
That's the story.
But now it'll be in the papers and out in the open.
That's right.
And the ransom will stop. Take it out of darkness, and evil dies.
You just coined a proverb.
This has been a true story from the pages of the San Francisco Chronicle. In a moment, the story's follow-up. The story was headlined Red China Ransom and run on the front page. The wires picked it up and printed it all over the world. The government invoked the law that made it a crime to send money to Communist China under the Trading with the Enemy Act. Before it was over, more than $5 million had been extorted. But the story broke it. San Francisco Final stars Jeff Chandler as Mike Rivera. It is written and directed by David Friedkin and Morton Fine and produced by Michael Meshikoff. Music is composed and conducted by Walter Schumann and arranged by Nathan Scott. Heard in the cast were Harry Bartell, Jerry Hausner, Olin Soule, Lillian Baeff, Virginia Gregg, Herb Butterfield, Vic Perrin, Barney Phillips, and Tony Barrett. The engineer was Raoul Murphy, with sound by Bud Tollefson and Wayne Kenwood.
Welcome back. Now, this was a radio tour de force with just so many great radio veterans in there. And that ending, I thought, was just incredibly moving. It was an incredible story. And I can't help but thinking if this show had been made, say, 4 or 5 years earlier, it would have lasted a season or two. This was just top-notch work. The Dragnet feel, I definitely felt it. So many people were involved in this, including Walter Schumann, who did the music for Dragnet in San Francisco Final, as well as a lot of the actors. And Jeff Chandler was actually good friends with Jack Webb as well. And the two worked together, with Webb doing guest work on the New Adventures of Michael Shane. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, our 250th episode special. We'll be back on Monday with Box 13. In the meantime, send your comments to box13@greatdetectives.net. Follow the show on Twitter @Radio Detectives. And give us a call by voicemail, 208-991-4783. From Boise, Idaho, though, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.